Hi, welcome to Saving Throws, the only podcast that returns to your hand from the graveyard, even when you don't want it to. I'm Kingsley, and I found this very nice sword in a river nearby.
My name's Harry, and I found this big friendly shield downstream.
My name's Ali, and I found a rusted spoon, so thanks, I guess.
We are Saving Throws. You've met us before. You know who we are. Thank you so much for tuning into last week's podcast. And just a friendly little reminder to like, share, subscribe, follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, whatever you feel like doing, whatever your gran feels like doing, get it done. Fellas, how are we feeling this week?
Feeling so nice.
Feeling pretty good. Still sweating off the food from Christmas Day.
I ate a lot of food on Christmas, and I've eaten so little food since. It's just part of the deal, I guess. My Santa Claus being my patron and all, I can only eat once a year.
Yeah, feeling pretty chaotic greasy today.
Yeah, chaotic greasy.
Chaotic greasy. I slide right off the rules.
And I am lawfully full.
Chaotic, greasy, lawful, fool, and neutral naughty.
Neutral naughty.
Neutral naughty.
What does that even mean?
It means what you need it to mean, baby. I'm a little elf. I'm a naughty little elf. You can't catch me.
He's a little elf.
Wait, from hunky fucking goblins to Kingsley the naughty elf. How the mighty...
That's the new bit.
We've not fallen. We've just gotten more into the hole that Kingsley has dug us into.
I dug a little hole and you're all following me in.
That's the bit for today.
Why is
Kingsley's little naughty elf.
Shellboy. That is a reference very few people will get.
To Kingsley's home game.
Let's alienate everybody right at the top. At the top.
Yeah, let's alienate everybody. People will totally get a reference that's in Kingsley's home game that me and Harry are also in. Yes, everyone will get the reference.
Big rider on top saying,
yeah,
missed that. Shall we get into it? Shall we roll a fun little dice and see what it is we have to talk about today?
Yep, I shall
Let's
roll
see what we're gonna talk about today, y'all.
I shall roll the magic dice of topic selection. It is not magical. I'm legally bound by the Mages Guild to inform you all that it is not magical, it's a regular dice. Anyway,
yeah, it's just a little bit of prestidigitation.
A big blah.
We got a 5, which means using other editions mechanics bolsters 5e gameplay, which is going to be fun, as I've never played other editions, but I can talk about how I've just made up my own things, so we'll just go forward with that.
Well, Kingsley and I started in 4e, I believe.
And one that was almost universally hated by the D&D fan base.
Shockingly.
I hold no merit on that. I've never played 4e. I hear a lot of people bitch about it though on the Facebook pages, Twitter, all that stuff. People say it was too video gamey, but whatever that means. You guys may be able to shed some light on that, but I have never played 4th edition. Things
that, shockingly, you can follow us on. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Shameless
all
plug.
Social media.
Yeah,
all social media.
Please, it really does help us out. Even if you don't want to subscribe, leaving a like on the video does help us try and break through the painful algorithm that is YouTube. If you could please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is Saving Throws. The picture is the same as our thumbnail. Oh, not our thumbnail, that's a lie. The picture is the same as all our social media pictures. Us there on a table having a good time. Follow us on Twitter at Saving Throws. It's actually at Throws Saving, because Twitter wouldn't let me have Saving Throws, and Instagram is Saving Throws Insta. You'll find it by all the pictures, same in the Facebook page and YouTube, and as all our pages all have the same picture of just us three on a table, animated and having a good time.
Yeah, it's just like in real life.
Instead of cock teasing you about using other editions, why don't we get into it?
We're just teasing you. We're like
we're naughty little elves. We're all naughty.
We're like a
neutral
saucy
naughty
dom.
I would like to announce my resignation from Saving Throws. It was a good run, boys.
Ali's being lawful nice.
Lawful nice.
Like Harry said, we both started playing 4th edition when we were greasy little high schoolers. We were greasy little high schoolers, dude. We were stuck in this room. Like, I don't know if you remember it, all the way at the top of the building. That we went to school in, and it was just, I think maybe 4 or 5 of us all stuck in the corner of this room. Like, one of our friends, their mum was a teacher, so we got to use that room when no one else was using it. So we all just piled in there and really horribly played 4th edition.
Sick.
It's fucking hilarious. But 4th edition, the reason I think a lot of people don't like it is that it comes off very video gamey.
I mean, the thing about 4th edition, right? So, like, I experienced 4th edition in a vacuum. It's just, like, extremely dense. It's just, like, there's so much going on there. Like, not even just mechanics-wise, but also just, like, options-wise. There's just so many things that you can choose, things you have to keep track of for your character. It is not super conducive for, like, learning how to play D&D, learning how to play tabletop role-playing games.
Yeah.
But, like, the thing about 4th edition, I think it gets a little bit too much flack, and it might just be, like, my biases coming through, but, like, I think there's a lot of really, really cool stuff that you can take from 4E and inject into 5E pretty seamlessly, actually, and make it, like, really fun, like, really fun.
One thing I know that me and you both use, and I don't know if you've ever, I might have talked to you about this before, Ali, is using minions. Like literally, say you've got a hobgoblin, right? Like if you are a new player and for the first time you're playing Mines of Phandalin, or Phandalin, you've obviously, spoilers for that adventure, I guess. When you're facing off against the Bugbear Captain, you've got the dogs and you've got other goblins around him. Say you beef that Bugbear Captain up a lot. You make him, in 4th edition, what would be called an elite, right? So the goblins around him would have the status of minion. So there's minion, standard, elite, and I don't know if solo is actually something like a dragon, like an ancient white dragon or something would be a solo
like
monster.
A singular monster.
Even just hearing this, I immediately, as someone who's never played 4th edition, sounds a lot like a video game. Like, my brains immediately went to Destiny, and I'm thinking of the minions, the lieutenants, like all their ranking systems, and I immediately see what you're talking about, how it's very video gamey, because even just hearing that alone, it does sound very video gamey to me.
Yeah, it's insanely cool though, because the reason we all play video games, right, is obviously, yeah, we all love video games, but there's that element of like, look, whether you play FIFA or you play Mass Effect, you know, you are not a football player and you are not a starship captain. You want to be.
Hey, you never know. I mean, it might be two friends of mine back in Scotty Land, Smeg and Kieran, they play FIFA and they both avidly play football. So you don't know. There could be a starship captain out there.
You know,
I'm on a spaceship right now.
It does sound like it.
Yeah, thank you.
What I'm trying to say is effectively that you play video games because you want to feel a certain kind of way. Obviously, the same reason you listen to music or watch a film or read a book, right? You want to evoke some kind of emotion. When you walk into a room, right, as a D&D character, right, your D&D character walks in, you're like a level 3 warrior, you want to feel like a bit of a badass. Nothing makes you feel more like a badass than the cleave mechanic versus minions, right? You walk into a room, swing your fucking greatsword, and take out 3 goblins at the same time, you immediately feel like, I have earned this, I am a warrior of renown, like, I am good at what I do. Same with
that's actually funny, because that is something I implemented in my campaign, and I actually pulled that from video games. I do have the cleave mechanic if there's a number of enemies. Like, usually if my players walk into anywhere, either a ruin, a dungeon, a city, and there's shit going down, and they see like 30 to 40 goblins or lesser enemy, they're like, oh no, but then quickly they see like the damage will bleed through, and I didn't realize that was actually a mechanic in 4D. I didn't even call it a cleave mechanic, I just called it a mob mechanic, because I was thinking because I was new to DMing, I treated it like a video game, because that's what I know. So it's very interesting to hear that it's actually a mechanic in 4th edition, is that as a mechanic I actually use in my campaign, only if there's a lot of enemies. I don't just use it sparingly for like 4 enemies if they're actually of a certain class, because I'm not going to have that. But it is interesting to hear that as a mechanic, because that is something I do use in my campaign.
I'm not entirely sure. Sorry, Harry, you were saying?
No. Yeah, I mean, just like tacking on to this kind of like minion mechanic kind of thing. not necessarily like an edition of D&D, but like another system. We've played Gamma World together, Kingsley. We
Yeah.
played like 1 or 2 games. Gamma World has a really interesting sort of system where you can tag creatures as a minion and they have 1 HP. And because they have 1 HP, you can throw like 20 of them at the party. And like if they've got AoE stuff, like it's probably a lot easier to deal with them, but like if you're using the cleave mechanic, that also kind of works. But like it's this idea of like throwing them insurmountable odds at your PCs and giving them the tools to be able to plow through most of them, giving them that feeling of being like, oh, I'm a full-on adventurer, I'm like a fucking action hero. And it's like a good feeling. And sometimes you want to give your players that feeling, not all the time, but sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, especially after like you've gone through something harrowing. I mean, imagine how shitty Lord of the Rings, the films and the books, would be if you got into the mines of Moria, you started getting chased by all those goblins, and you straight up just died. Like, yeah, that's it. You just died.
I mean, I believe they were orcs, but yes.
Truly?
Yeah, can you imagine? Can you imagine how short that film series would be if there was initiative and the action economy alone, like they'd all be dead. There would be no get the ring. There'd be no Gandalf sacrifice. It would be TPK right as Frodo gets stabbed.
I mean, a Gandalf can truly only cast 1 leveled spell every 6 seconds, and I don't know, man. I don't know, when those fireworks are going, I don't know. That's all I want to say. Major image much? Anyway.
My Berman shoots fireball. Fireball now. Fireball hard.
Yeah. Another thing from 4th edition is as well the concept of being bloodied. I think in 4th edition it was a little bit more snowball-y. Like if you were bloodied or if an enemy was bloodied, they would take certain penalties. And that obviously, because you were penalized for being under half health, the more damage you took, the harder these penalties were to recover from. So it was just like this kind of snowball of just like, oh, this has gone from insanely hard to like very easy because I'm just kicking their ass now. But I do love the concept of bloodied as like, because we all, in our home games, we all role play. So obviously, there are, aside from the moments where it's like, how are you looking for health? Oh, on a scale from 1 to 62, I'd say I'm about a 57, right? If you're below half health, you can just be like, oh, I'm bloodied. Like, I'm fully bloodied. It's not more bit of terminology than an actual concept and mechanic.
See, I'm a big fan of that. I don't like in my games, but again, it's always the player's fun for me, so I'm not going to come down hard and something. I'm not a big fan if it's like there's a big combat and the healer's like, what are you at? So I was like, I'm at 24. It's like, be more descriptive. Like if I ever take damage, like in your most recent game, Kingsley, with Harry the Cleric, or Yandu, our beloved turtle, and my eco-terrorist Zahir, instead of being like, oh, I'm in like 15 hit points, I was like, Zahir is like falling to one knee and is struggling to stand as his breath fall ragged from his mouth, But again, those all, but not to like kind of alienate other players. Sometimes people don't want to RP. Some people just play D&D for the fighting and the combat, and that's totally okay. D&D is playing a game that you find fun in. I just personally, because I have a table full of role players, which I'm very thankful for, I do like seeing like the description of like how hurt you are. There's even been times I've seen you, Kingsley, your character Mortis, when he's taking damage, and like instantly one of the healers is like, hey, how are you? And you're like, I'm absolutely fine. Like, I don't even feel winded. Like, that's a good thing of like, no, I don't need healing. Instead of being like, oh no, I've only lost 5 hit points. Like, no, I'm not even winded. I'm absolutely okay. Opposed to, I've also seen you be asked when you're low in health, and you'd be like, Mortis is not looking good. He is stumbling to his feet right now, and he is barely standing. Then that's another good indication of, okay, that he needs healing right now.
Yeah, I portray it through voice as well. So like, I'll sometimes, I will fully, because it's within Mortis's character. So like when you're playing a character, I'm a big role player. When you're in character doing the voice, you can be like, yeah, no, I'm absolutely fine. Don't worry about me.
Yeah, you do that a lot.
You're fully hurt. You're in a bad shape, but you don't want anyone to see it.
It also depends on the character. The character may not want healed. I mean, and with your now to completely switch campaigns, with Crick and Matt, and there's been times where Crick's like, Matt, do you need healing? And Matt's very much where he looks after the party, where he doesn't care about himself as long as someone else is getting taken care of. He doesn't care if he dies because he wants his party, because he's the leader of that group. He wants his comrade to survive. So it'd be something like, "Oh, I'm not. Just heal the others. Don't focus on me." And Craig, I swear to God, like you gotta just like. So sometimes you don't want the healing. It really depends on the character you've made. And the character that I have for that situation was very much of, I think he was on 5 hit points and was knocked prone. And even still, he was like, please give the healing somewhere else because I care about them more than I do myself. And that's not as a player, because I've played characters before that don't care about anybody. I had an Oathbreaker Paladin who did not care. And I was level 8, I think, at the time with Alex. And he had a big lay on hands health pool, and he just had joined the party because he was told by one of the politicians of that area to go help them with this mission, and that was the way the DM bringing me into the new group. But I played him as he was an Oathbreaker. You know, he hated the gods, and the people he had just met weren't. I don't know how to word it. It wasn't. They just came off as, to my character, as strange. I was very good friends with every player at that table, but even still, when one of them dropped unconscious and says, "Anyone got a healing potion?" and someone was, "I've got a healing potion," I still had like 40 lay on hands sitting there, and I was like, he would not use it right now because he does not know these people or care for them that much. They are just tools to finish a job.
Yeah. It's crazy the amount of versatility you can get out of different characters, and like. Sometimes you get it as well, like when you've got a nice DM, like one of our DMs, will let you use stuff from other games, like Pathfinder, for instance, which is not exactly D&D, but it's a 3.5.
Oh, I want to play Pathfinder so bad. So many of my friends here, Danny, Tom, and Anne, they used to play Pathfinder. They now play 5e, but they talk about Pathfinder so much, and this is so interesting. The amount of
Pathfinder's
stuff that's in there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful like homage and build on to 3.5e, which was apparently a very good addition. I was probably still in nappies.
3.5 is very fun. I think it's awesome, and we should run one of those one of these days. We should run a 3.5 campaign.
3.5e, I'm pretty sure, has Spelljammer. So if you want to run a 3.5e Spelljammer,
baby! Just don't even get me started on Spelljammer, because I will completely disregard the topic of conversation up until now and just talk about how much I love Spelljammer.
I mean, to be fair, I think the topic has went asunder as we were talking about how to use mechanics to craft. I know that's a different topic. I'm reading the wrong thing. We're talking about using other addition mechanics. Maybe just fully on went into talking about how to RP damage.
Let me. As funny as it is, and as much as I will go off about Spelljammer, I will restrain myself a little bit. But
yeah, for sure.
I am currently running a sci-fi D&D game. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, there's much better systems to play a D&D game in."
Starfinder comes to mind.
Yeah, Pathfinder. Pathfinder has Starfinder. Literally, it's Pathfinder but star mechanics, and I've stolen mechanics from that. Please don't tell Piezo. But
Piezo,
I've also
if you're listening, he has stole mechanics from Starfinder.
Look, Piezo, I didn't straight up steal them. It's more a case of like one of you guys left them on the ground. I was like, oh, that looks pretty, and I picked it up.
See, you can tell your DM is a rogue in my campaign.
Yeah. I stole it. I'm neutral naughty, and I don't care how that reflects on me. I'm a naughty little elf, baby.
You're actually a shifter human. You're lying again. You just sit in a throne of lies, don't you?
I do, and let me tell you something. It's so comfy, baby.
We're getting naughty, all right?
We're getting
You come
naughty.
to this podcast, you open the door, we're on the floor, we're getting naughty with it, all right?
Dude, take your
what do you
shoes
want
off,
from
walk
us?
on in, walk on in. We're getting naughty.
We're
Not
getting
the freaking
NAUGHTY. We're getting naughty with it. Here tonight, in front of you, in front of my salad.
I heard how slow you spelled that. You were definitely making sure you didn't fuck that up live.
Yeah,
I was
all
so afraid.
Let me speak to you. Have you heard the good word? Have you heard the good word about Spelljammer? Okay, well, let me tell it to you. Spelljammer has insanely cool mechanics regarding fucking space, dude. Obviously space. Where it's like, so I love Treasure Planet. It's a fantastic fucking film. If you haven't watched Treasure Planet,
I love that movie so much. Yeah. That's the one with the the really cool looking badass character, the shaved sides, kind of long hair at the front, has that cool like hover glider. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Quick super tangent. That is coming in a DLC for Arc, the Arc 1 Genesis Part 2. We are getting those gliders. They showed it at the because they got enough money for charity. They showed us some stuff coming from upcoming DLC, and as soon as they revealed that skiff like hoverboard thing, my mind straight went to Treasure Planet, and I love that movie. It's such a good feel-good movie. And it's oh god, I don't know what it was as a kid, but you said Treasure Planet. My mind replayed so many great scenes from that. God, I've now just realized a lot of my characters might be based off the main character. I've taken a lot of traits from that. Whoops.
Living rent-free in your mind.
Yeah, living rent-free in my mind, baby.
My segue asunder, baby.
No, we're still on topic. We love Spelljammer in this house. On topic.
Spelljammer
I have no idea what
household?
Spelljammer is. Tell it to me, baby. Paint me a
Let me tell you, baby.
Take me there.
Okay, so you've got the material plane. I'm sure we all know it. I'm sure we've all had a little walk around, a little walk through, the Forgotten Realms or something similar.
Some might say we're there now.
Bro. But then, up above, you've got a cute little thing called L'Astral Plane, or in English, the Astral Plane. And in the Astral Plane, you can drive around, fly around on ships. But they have this thing inside. It's such a stupid name. Please bear with me. It's called a phlogiston. And the phlogiston basically generates...
Get yourself a good phlogiston.
I'm neutral naughty. I go phlogistoning on the weekend.
Chaotic Greasy going flogging with my boys.
And the phlogiston basically produces a general aura of like oxygen. You can breathe oxygen in space, and it gives this really cool Treasure Planet ass aesthetic. That was a mindfuck right there.
What? Yeah. You know what? Tom, you got a shout out last week for your Mardu deck. I know you're getting a shout out this week again. Because in his campaign, it started off as the Ghost of Saltmarsh, and it has transitioned into something that is no longer the Ghost of Saltmarsh. So my Paladin originally was, and I have a new character in that, a warlock, and we have to go to the astral plane to basically get this piece to reseal a prison realm for this race called Outsiders or Aliens, and we had to build this device on our ship. And our ship, last session we had, and we were flying through the astral plane on our massive piratey ship called the Falling Star, which was actually really funny because that was named back when it was a regular ship, and this is before we ever flew it through the astral sea. So that's actually a great name. The hats off to Jason for the name. But yeah, I was like, this is great, but I now see that maybe Tom is a big fan of Spelljammer because this is exactly the same thing. We're going through the astral sea. We have this device that keeps oxygen around it, and if you leave it, you're in trouble. Because I literally said to him, I was like, this is the Astral Sea, correct? What does my character know in the Astral Sea from the research he's done? Because we all prepped for going here. And I basically had read that whatever I will here to a certain extent will happen. So I willed myself to fly, and I was flying in the Astral Sea, and then I flew out the ship, and then oxygen became a big problem because what happened was there was a chain from my chest feeding onto the ship, and these Geth who were riding these like hover sandskiff things were trying to snap my chain, and I was like, I'm not worried about this guy. I thought it just kept me anchored to the ship. And it wasn't until my chain had almost snapped. The wizard was like, if that chain snaps, you're lost forever here. And I was like, well, I am 150 feet away from the ship. So I decided to fly with my mental capacity and go fireball the Gith warship. Shit.
Did the session, is that how the session ended?
No, I think I messaged you about it in my campaign Discord. I was so hyped how amazing the DM painted it. I literally flew over, fireballed the ship, took out their engine, and then as the Gith were charging me, bonus action Chaos Bolt, because I rolled double numbers, they leaped, took out all the Gith around me. Danny's character, Cordelia, healed my chain. I managed to then kick a Gith off one of their skiffs and fly their skiff back to our ship and managed to just get back on the ship in time.
Fucking
incredible.
See, Tom, get in the comments. Talk to me about Spelljammer. If anyone wants to talk to me about Spelljammer, my DMs are open. Let's talk about
I have
space.
Something to look into now. I have no idea what Spelljammer is, but I will definitely look into it.
Beautiful. Elements I stole from that, obviously a phlogiston to create a cool Treasure Planet kind of a cool Treasure Planet-esque campaign, which is a little bit more fantasy, obviously, but still heavily sci-fi because we love that shit on this channel.
Rooted very heavily in space travel, kind of like the trope. It's got like tropes of like fantasy, right? It's got like, it's playing off of pirates, you know, like that's a very, very typical fantastical kind of trope. But then it's also playing with this kind of like spacefaring and like high technology and all that.
Yeah, so I've currently got it. I've stolen from a few separate sources. I've stolen from Mage Hand Press. Their Dark Matter supplement is gorgeous, truly incredible. Something I read it to myself at night to put my little head to bed. It's beautiful. It's an amazing supplement, as well as obviously Piezo, Don't Come For Me, Starfinder, Chef's Kiss, Wizards of the Coast. When they come out with it, not if, but when they decide to act nice and come out with a Spelljammer supplement, I will be stealing from that. Until then, I have to look into D&D Advanced rules.
You think that'll be a 5e thing or a 6e?
Maybe
do you even think we'll get a 6th edition at this point? I was genuinely curious about this because they have been bringing out so much for 5th edition, and that's because D&D has had a massive surge again. And I'll probably get hate for this, but I claim that to Critical Role, they made it, and the reason I'm using air quotes, you can't see it, is air quotes cool.
We can't even see it.
You've got the likes of Joe Manganiello as well, this hunk of a man D&D player. I feel like between him and Critical Role, and I don't want to sell short any of the other D&D streams out there. I adore Dimension 20, but I feel because of even Brennan Lee Mulligan, who is the DM of Dimension 20 shows, he even said it's thanks to Critical Role we're in the state we are now because D&D is bigger than it ever has been. And I will fight that cause. D&D is bigger than it is now than it ever was. And
so you picked your hill to die on.
I have picked a hill to die on, along with the card art that don't have reach that are massive, but we'll not talk about that today. But completely forgot where I was. I wonder if they'll ever do it in edition past 5 now, because so many people are playing 5. So many people, old players or new players, are saying how easy 5th edition is to do. I mean, as someone only ever had one session as a player, one session, I was DMing after that, and 5th edition is so easy, it's not confusing to start. I mean, the campaign with my 9 players, only 4 of them have played D&D before, and that's you, Danny, Tom, and Anne. Everyone else had only played for the first time at my table, and we play every week, and it's so easy to get a hold on, and with the amount of stuff coming out for it, I wonder if they'd ever risk ruining their credibility, because I mean, it can even be a case of some people hate 5.E, and I know even people at my local game store, they still play 3.5. They've not made the move to 5th edition yet. They don't want to try anything new. They love 5th edition. And it wouldn't obviously just be my local game store. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are sticking to 3.5. Everyone almost universally hates 4th. I've never played it, but almost everyone loves 5th. And I wonder if you don't want to ruin a good thing, because 5th edition is booming right now. And I wonder if Wizards are worried to try a 6th. I personally, you guys have played 4th, you guys have played 5th. I personally think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We saw with Tasha's, you can easily add in new mechanics without requiring a whole new edition. You've seen that you can just add supplements or add whatever you want to edit what is already there. And I wonder if 5th edition is what is here to stay for a long time.
I mean, look at what happened with Xanathar's Guide. I mean, Xanathar's Guide basically, I don't know the exact timing, but I believe, when did Xanathar's come out? Was that 2016, 2017 Xanathar came out?
I'll look that up right now.
Give me a little look on that.
Xanathar came out 2017.
2017, yeah. Critical Role obviously started before then, but they were using... I mean, Xanathar's breathed a lot of new life into the game. People like Matt Colville talk a lot about downtime in the game. And back when you were playing First Edition or Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, downtime wasn't very much a thing you would do. You would mainly go on adventures.
Downtime. I really do enjoy downtime.
Yeah. And Xanathar's gives us those brand new mechanics for downtime. Xanathar's gives you how you create magic weapons, how you actually make potions, and what you can do in downtime. And Tasha's adds that as well.
And that's what I'm saying. So usually this stuff, because with 3rd edition you had 3.5, then you had 4th. I wonder if we're ever even get a 5.5. They have really made something so strong with 5th edition. I wonder if this is it now. And well, again, I say that as a player who's never experienced new editions coming out, but for me as a player who's coming to 5th, I don't learn anything else. I mean, I've got so many friends here that are like, we'll have to play Pathfinder at some point. We'll have to play an old or a different or this or that different tabletop RPGs. But a lot of them say it's actually really complex and it's not as easy to learn as 5th edition is. And I wonder if that's the worry Wizards will have, that now they've pulled so many people in with 5th edition. They want to slap a 6th edition down and go, we've completely changed everything. And if they were to slap down a 6th edition and have that worry, they'd go, here, 6th edition, everything's the same, it's added a few things. Well, no, that could be a module. And that's probably what we're going to see going forward is, if they have any new creative ideas, instead of making a whole new edition, they'll just throw a new module out and be like, look, here's a few new mechanics. It's in here. Have fun. I also think Wizards, I genuinely, because you guys are both DMs and you're both players. And occasionally we all get to play together or play with, at least every one of us here played with each other at some other point. As in me and Harry have played in Kingsley's games. Me and Kingsley have done one-shots and played together. And I'm also Kingsley's DM. We've all played together at some point, and I have completely lost my... There we go, I remember now. I've completely forgot what I was even talking about. You guys will see, there's not many magic items. People are probably listening going, there's so many magic items. Run a campaign or be a player in a campaign that's semi-active and come back and talk to me, because seriously, after a while, there's not many magic items. And I think the one thing there is Wizards want people to be making their own magic items. There's a thing for in D&D Beyond to make your own magic items. There's even things on the DM's handbook and the monster manual and on the player's handbook. Not the monster manual, sorry, the player's handbook and the DM's guide, how to create magical weapons. Wizards want you doing that, and I think they might also want you to be doing that with your own mechanics. Shit, I don't know how many mechanics I've made for my campaign to make it feel more real and fun. I've made tons. I have a thing called a dive mechanic, where you can use your reaction to dive in front of someone's 10 feet in front of an ally to take the damage. If it's a saving throw, you automatically fail. And if it's an attack, well, if it hits the player, you just take the hit and you take full damage. And I've done that because I was like, if you care enough about one of your fellow players and you've developed a bond with them in character, why couldn't you risk their life for them? We see it all the time in anime, TV shows, movies, video games. Why couldn't you do that? Like, I think, because I'd asked them if I could do that. When I first started playing, I was like, can I dive in front of the attack? And they were like, sorry, it's not a rule. I was like, why isn't it though? Like, your D&D's about making bonds with your fellow players and adventuring, so why couldn't you give your life for theirs? So I added that mechanic in. If you're within 10 feet, you can dive in front of the attack and put your body in front of theirs. Yeah, you're going to take the damage. And you can't obviously dive a fireball because fireballs at AoE.
It's worth it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you've got more HP, or even if it's just like a good bond and you have no HP. I mean, even think back to when Crick was going to get attacked and my character had 5 HP and I think you had more than half. I still dived in front of you because it's what my character would do. And I think
we've had it in your campaign where obviously as a pirate captain, I have a first mate, and me and my first mate almost always dive in front of each other if we're close enough. It's just like, no, you're not gonna get hit.
Literally, Quinn the puny little sorcerer who has, like, I think you guys are all level 8 now or level 7. I can't remember what level you guys. I think you guys are level 8. You have a shit ton of health. Her as a sorcerer, she's only been rolling 2s or 3s. I allow rerolls of 2s, but she's never rolled higher than 3 for her hit dice. And even you, I think we're down to like 25 hit points, and she had a max of 30, and she still dived in front of you because it was the bonds those characters had cemented together. And I think Wizards, like Magic games, want you to be making your own mechanics, you know, and have some fun.
I mean, ultimately, so like, on the topic of this question, is there gonna be a 6e? So ultimately, down the line, there probably will be a 6e. Now, no idea what that's going to look like, no idea what it's going to be, because, like you said, you run the risk of going too far from what brought people to D&D, or staying too close to what you've been successful with, so you kind of have to strike a really nice balance with that. The thing is, D&D 5e, I'll say this just right now, unabashedly, extremely well designed. Extremely well designed game, just from the ground up. Now, I know there are some people who say that they don't like stuff that came out in Tasha's, you know, that's all like opinion based, all that kind of stuff, but like, fundamentally, the root of 5e, incredibly well designed. It's a game that pretty much anyone can pick up quite easily. Because the mechanics they've been designed to help people kind of facilitate doing stuff they want to do. So like, it's extremely mutable in a way, almost. Like you said, Wizards of the Coast wants people to be creating their own content for this game, and the whole point of it's a good system because it allows for that to be done. You don't even have to prep sometimes to make those mechanics. Like, for example, similar to the diving thing that you were just talking about, just the other day, Kingsley was in a campaign of mine. He said, can I shield this person with my body? That's not like a mechanic in the game, but D&D 5e has been designed in a way that it's pretty easy to kind of assume how that would work. Now any attacks to go to this...
I totally agree, and I guess that, though, what you're saying, that also kind of falls into the rule of cool. You know what I mean? Obviously, maybe not shielding some of your body is cool, or it could be, depending on what you think is cool, but... obviously, I think that rule of cool could literally be a topic on its own, so I won't tangent off into that. But yeah, totally agree with what you're saying, Harry. Like, the rule of cool, is that a rule? No. Is it cool to do? Yes. Why the fuck not? I mean, like, as long as in the realm of possibility, like, if you're a goblin, if you're playing at a goblin race and go, can I fly? No. Why? Because you don't have wings. That's like, some rules need to be there, but I'm a big believer in rule of cool 100% of the time, rule of cool.
It was as well, it's bargaining with your DM sometimes. I know, like, obviously, yeah, there are those rules that are immovable, like, oh, maybe if I take this many hit points, you can buff up my strength. Maybe, but probably not. But if
there's
it's
no precedent for that.
Yeah, there's no real precedent. But what we did in Harry's home game the other day, which I was thankful for him letting me do, my character is a duelist, so I wield a shield and I wield a rapier. A very, like you were saying earlier, you make your own magic items. Harry made me an insanely cool magic item.
I don't know why when you said duelist, I thought duelist as in J-E-W, like Jewel.
I'm a jewel maker.
I was like, gems.
No, because in my head, I was like, what, did you pick jeweler's tools? Like, that's interesting. No. But then I heard the rapier and the shield. I'm like, oh, duelist. Fuck. Right,
I shall work on my diction. Pardon me, I was a duelist.
Enchanté, ma chérie. I have all these fine wares.
But Harry let me... I basically said, look, I'm going to cover Eros, which was the other character. Shout out Niels for creating a very cool character. What up? Want to die. That character got paralyzed by, again... I just need to take a moment here. I know I'm neutral naughty today, but I'm about to be neutral. I'm about to be lawful complimentary.
Nice.
Harry has some insanely good homebrew in his campaign. A lot of his stuff taken from 4th edition. Very cool stuff.
True.
One of these monsters had this, you had to basically make a wisdom saving throw or you would be paralyzed. And we were doing the fight in water. Harry has an insanely cool homebrew breath mechanic, which is wasted on me because I'm a grung, so I am amphibious.
I literally, as I was designing it, I was like, oh, this doesn't apply to Kingsley. And he was the only one who jumped in the water for like a bit. I was like, I'm not going to be able to use this thing I made. But whatever. Anyways.
That is DMing right there what you just said, Harry. I've used this thing and I'm not going to get a chance to use it.
It hurts so much. When you get a chance to like tell your players, like every now and then, Ali, you'll message me or I'll message Harry, and you have to have those DM friends that you're like, look, I can't have you in my campaign right now because I need to have someone to talk to about what I'm going to do to these people. That is such a DM issue because there are sometimes
well, that's the problem. That is the fucking problem. The only person who I can talk to about DM stuff is Harry. I used to go to Harry a lot. Now I don't because I've found my feeting, but I used to talk to Tom about this. And then literally, the first bit, Tom gave me great advice. And then literally the week later, he joined my campaign. Because I was like, dude, I want to join my campaign. And after he joined, I was like, fuck, I have no one to talk to at all.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's why I can't join your campaign, Alec, because I'm the only one.
Yes, the thing is, I always said, right now, because now I've got a 9th player, a friend of ours, Daniel, joined. I was like, no more players. Because I don't want to have 10 players. But if Harry said to me, can I join your campaign? I'd be like, yeah, sure, why not? Because I always said no more than 6. Then it became 7. Then it became 8. Now we're at fucking 9 players in my campaign. I have a problem. I just want people to have a good time. I want to show everyone D&D. Because most people that joined my campaign never played D&D before.
Yeah.
It's a problem, seriously. Because I'll bring a new player in. Like if I brought Harry in and I was DMing 10 players, then I'd be like, 3 days later, man, why is it so hard to balance this encounter? Where did I go wrong? I know where I went wrong. 10 fucking players is where I went wrong.
Yeah. Going really quickly, sorry, Harry, I know you were on a big tangent before me and Ali came in and we're like, oh. You were talking about the mutability and the ease of teaching 5th edition. The way me and Harry used to play, right? Because we didn't have a big play group. We didn't have a bunch of people to play with. We would go to our friends' houses, right? We would play actual home games, but we were never prepared for it. They would always just spring it on us, right? After like a whole night of like just being with our friends, they would be like, oh, can we play D&D? Me and Harry would look at each other and be like, oh, yeah, I fucking guess.
Sure,
so
why not?
We would teach these people how to play D&D, and we'd have to explain the rules and blah, blah, blah. But you take maybe an hour and a half to make the characters, explain the rules as you're doing that. Within an hour and a half, these people know what they're doing. Obviously, there are moments where it's like, oh, can I cast this spell, then cast this spell? And it's like, no, sorry, there's this, like, small rule where you can't cast 2-level spells at the same time. Oh, why not? Oh, because each round is 6 seconds. And then you give them that information, and they're already learning. And the more and more they're learning, the more they want to play. And 5th edition, obviously, yeah, Critical Role helped proliferate it. The creation and bringing out of brand new... sorry, I fully lost myself because a car is driving right behind my house.
I just heard that, yeah.
The ease at which people can pick up 5th edition is insane. And I think that helps with the proliferation of it.
Because all of the named and stated rules are... all the stated rules, they make sense, right? Like, when you kind of explain you can't cast 2 spells in a turn because each turn is 6 seconds long, it makes sense. It makes sense.
It does.
Why would you be able to cast... Why would you only be able to attack once? This is, like, early levels, obviously, and not, like, as you get higher, you attack more. But, like, why would you only be able to attack once and be able to cast a spell twice? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, you can layer on those rules, and honestly... You can go basically a whole first session with new players without getting into the really finicky stuff. Yeah, you can kind of go a whole session.
Because my fiance, well, it's weird to say, to those who are listening who don't know me personally, I got engaged on
Heads
Christmas.
up, congratulations.
Oh, thank
Congratulations!
My long-time brother, a man I've known for 22 whole years, since I came out the womb.
That's
got
we're
engaged
joking.
recently.
Me and Kingsley have known each other literally since babies.
We've beaten each other up with plastic bricks, plastic chairs, all sorts of things. We have shared blood, shared cigarettes,
all plastic,
and shared more. This man got engaged to a beautiful soul of a woman. And congratulations to them both. I love both of them deeply.
Thank you very much. She is possibly one of the most beautiful things I've ever laid my eyes on, and she makes me a much better person. And we just meet each other's wavelengths. We're both DMs. We both love D&D, Magic. We do everything together. Which before her, I'd have been like, oh, that sounds disgusting. I would need my own space. But no, we play Xbox together. We both have, and our living room is 2 TVs side by side, 2 50-inch TVs, 80. And we've got 2 TVs, 2 Xboxes, and we game everything together, play Magic together, play D&D together. But enough of me blowing up my amazing fiance. One thing she used to do is, like, back when I was in Scotland, when our relationship was long distance, she'd ask, what do you want to do? Do you want to play Xbox? I'd be like, yeah. She goes, oh, do you want to play D&D? And I'd be like, play D&D? This is right after, like, my first DMing session, because I was like, well, I want to DM. I'm never going to play. I've only ever played once. So I never get to play again, but I'm also okay with that. And she would go, yeah, just give me 20, 30 minutes and I'll make a session. And we had so many one-shots. I think most of the NPCs you've encountered in my world, Kingsley, are characters that Anne has ran me through for just like a quick, like, literally when I play D&D, sure, how long do you need? Give me 30 minutes or an hour. We just sit and talk in the call and she sit and build. Like Belial, the warlock from the Hexblade Hunters, he was one of the first people I played through a one-shot. And yeah, that's very true what you've said. Like, obviously if you're doing a campaign, you can't just do it in an hour or two. But if you want to show your friends D&D, you can easily, within like 10, 20 minutes, whip up something, throw some goblins at them, do a basic dungeon that is like 3 rooms. It's so true. You can whip up a session pretty quickly.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you could So, like, I'm not gonna say that running 5e is always simple because, there's obviously you prep. Like, you gotta prep. It's a session. Like, you're the curator. You have to make sure that everyone's having fun. You gotta give people stuff to do. But, like, you give someone an hour, give them an hour and a half, you can put together a dungeon. You can get some goblins. You can get some kobolds, put some traps. Go online, look at a fucking D100 table of kobold puzzles and traps. Fucking throw them in a dungeon. Your friends are gonna have fun no matter what because you're all together and you're drinking and you're playing D&D and you're goofing off and you're fighting goblins and it's a fun, funky time in a fantasy world. Like you're gonna have fun no matter what. So like that's 5e strength.
Make sure they're hunky.
Yeah,
make sure they're hunky. If they're not hunky, I'm going to be pissed the fuck off.
Yeah. Look, if you're coming to my table and you try to posit some Steve Buscemi looking motherfucker, no. You come to my table with hunky goblins, hunky elves, hunky monster races. You want a hunky bugbear? The door's open, baby. Let's get naughty.
I'm glad you
if
added
Steve
in the
Buscemi
elf
is
part.
listening to this, I'm so sorry.
I'm glad you added the elf
listening.
part because I was like, I'm a player at your table. I'm not a hunky goblin. I'm a hunky eco-terrorist, half elf, half shifter.
Exactly. Yeah, true. My God, it just. Also, Harry, you just fully exposed our how we used to run sessions for our friends.
If they're listening to this, now you know. When you ask us to play D&D,
I know you are listening.
Absolutely, you're listening to this right now.
Yeah,
and if you are, I'm giving you a little kiss.
I'm giving you a little kiss on each cheek.
Well, to talk about little kisses in each cheek, Tom and Jago, thank you for the very lovely messages. We are still finding our feet on this podcast, and I don't know you, Jago. I think I know Tom because I think Tom's Gaijin, right?
Tom is Jin, yeah.
Oh, Tom, I love chef kiss to you, Tom. I love you, buddy, and your fat cat character, the Tabaxi, who's like £1 million. But I don't know Jago, and he sent a lovely message to our Facebook page, and it was put in our private Discord, so where we do all our meetings and stuff. And it was a lovely message. Thank you very much. Hopefully, listening to this makes your pizza delivery is easier. And thank you for the love. It really means a lot, especially when we thought we'd only have one viewer. So really appreciate the love you sent, and it really made my morning amazing. It's nice to love is love. It's nice to spread that out there, and it was a really nice thing to wake up to. So I appreciate that, Jago. And
absolutely.
Tom, you sexy fat cat bastard. Love you too.
Tom, you sexy fat cat. Domino's Delivery.
Domino's Delivery!
We are not sponsored by them. If they would like to sponsor us, please. I love your pizza. But people are going to be like, fat cat. Just for a little bit of context, he plays a fat, really overweight Tabaxi cat. And this is a different Tom. The Tom I mentioned earlier from Spelljammer and his Mardu deck. Two different Toms. One's a Tom I've only met through D&D, and one's a Tom who lives close by, is a good friend of mine. But two very different Toms. Love them both. But yes, good people.
Quick bit of real life lore. If anyone didn't know this before, this is, I guess, a little bit of history, a little bit of real life lore.
That would be a good video one day. The SavingThrows origin story.
Yeah,
we'll do that one day,
multiple people can and do have the same name. I know multiple Henrys.
Really?
Yep.
But what?
Yep.
What about the laws of the old religion that document one name per person? Are those laws? Did we just forget those laws now?
No, everyone has their name, and it's like oh my God, I'm about to the Tales of Earthsea. You have your name, you tell it to everyone else, and then you got your true name. If you ever speak your true name aloud, that's it. It's game over.
Yes, remember, to those that are engaged, those that are dating, anything you're doing with another person, never give them your true name. Because just like demons, when they have your true name, they have full control over you. You never give anyone your true name.
Yeah.
And they will destroy you. Speaking of destroying, let's destroy our little dice roll topic table. Why don't we roll another little dice?
Yeah, let's roll another dice. Let's roll another dice and talk about the topic for 5 minutes before we tangent off into the
literally. We talked about the last topic for like 10 minutes and then said, all right, fuck it, new topic.
Yeah, we actually talked about 3 new topics that aren't even on our roll table.
For real.
SavingThrows podcast, where literally all our topics are decided by the roll of a dice on a random encounter table we all made.
Yes. I might be neutral naughty, but your boy can segue.
Ironically enough, a natural one, but natural ones here don't mean doom and gloom. They mean, well, maybe it is doom and gloom if you're tired of our voices. With that natural one, we're going to talk about the Game Award announcements and games we're pretty pumped that we saw in the announcements.
Absolutely. Now,
has
you guys? No, I mean, I'm not necessarily starting us off, but I'm just saying this is a topic I'm very excited about because there's all sorts of things that are coming out in 2021, 2022, however long. I'm super stoked for like the next slate of what's coming.
And I was glad to see games announced. I mean, like, I said this to Anne last night. Usually by the end of the year, I'm really excited for the first quarter games, but because of COVID slowing everything down, I can't think of any games coming out in the first or second quarter that I'm amped for, really. And I say amped for because I don't even know what games are coming out. Usually there's like a clear precedent of what games are coming out: January, February, March, April, and I'm usually used to counting down the days and hyping up my friends and talking about it, but I'm like, what games are coming out? Obviously a few things were announced, but some of them are to be determined a date, and some of them we know are going to be delayed. I personally, Wildcard, who make a game I adore called Ark. They are if anyone's an Ark player, never heard talk about it once. Anyone that plays Ark know the devs, and as somebody who studied game design and got a degree in it, I understand coding's hard, but they are the worst for time schedules. Ask any Ark player; they will give you a date of, like, for example, when Ragnarok was meant to come out, we were all told April. It didn't come out until November, a year later. They are not good for keeping time schedules. I think Ark 2 will 100% be delayed, or maybe it won't be now that Xbox is paying their bills and they become an Xbox exclusive, like Xbox and PC. They may have a guillotine over their neck, but there's a few games I'm excited for. We'll quickly go over just a few things that were announced. We're getting a new Perfect Dark game. And I know a lot of people are going to be excited for this. My other half almost cried at the reveal. We're getting a new Dragon Age, which for people probably hyped about that. Another game, same studio. Again, my other half almost cried. That was a new Mass Effect. Never really got into the series. I came into it too late. I only first heard about Mass Effect when Mass Effect 3 came out, so I got all the games and I couldn't play the first or second one because the graphics were so bad, the mechanics were super clunky, but they said they're doing a remaster of the original trilogy for Mass Effect coming out, I think it was either March or April next year. And I will play those because the way Anne talks about it, and the way I've seen my other friend Karen talk about it, they adore Mass Effects. I'm definitely going to dip my feet in the waters that is BioWare. Well, I love other BioWare stuff.
Mass Effect, phenomenal. You might want to plug your ears later because I will be spoiling a little bit, but I will let you carry on.
Then there was the Callisto. I think I'm saying it right. The Callisto or the Callisto Protocol, the same guy who made Dead Space. I'm sure a lot of people.
The executive producer Glenn Schofield, his studio, Striking Distance.
Yeah, making a brand new, and even the trailer looks super creepy, looks very Dead Spacey, and that'll be pretty fun. We got Back for Blood,
know some secret lore?
Essentially Left 4 Dead 3. I am very excited for that. Back as a kid on Xbox 360, I used to play Left 4 Dead 2 all the time, so I'm looking forward to the spiritual successor of Left 4 Dead, because the same team, same everyone making it. I cannot wait. We got a sneak peek at another Elder Scrolls Online expansion coming out. They're just pumping out these expansions of the Gates of Oblivion, which should be pretty fun to dive into. We got Open Roads, a really fun kind of looking game where it's really all about just traveling the open roads. Funnily enough, developers.
Really nice art style.
Yeah, really, really nice art style. They are
absolutely.
from Gone Home and Attack Home, developers from Fulbright. We've got Season coming, which is a very kind of watercolored painted art style, where I think it's all about you just exploring the roads in different cultures on the back of a bike, which could be fun.
Beautiful.
We got an Among Us new map reveal. I'm sure a lot of people will be looking forward to that. I do love Among Us and how it can really, really make you see how much of lying pieces of shit your friends are. And lastly, we got Ark 2, a game that I could do a full 3-hour podcast myself talking about Ark. Surprisingly, and I think surprised a lot of people who don't play Ark, and a lot of people who do play Ark, Vin Diesel is starring in. And not only is he starring in the game, he's also an executive producer. he was interviewed and he said that he loves Ark. He's got thousands of hours logged in it, and he was dying to be a part of Ark 2, which is crazy because I've been playing Ark, the first one, since its alpha. Literally since like they're only, because the Ark's got, if people don't know, it's a survival game. You need to manage your food and water. You can build a house, build a base. There's dinosaurs in it. Well, it used to be just dinosaurs. Now there's dragons, there's unicorns, there's fantasy creatures you can tame and then fight other players with it, or go PvE and fight bosses. But I played Ark back when there only was 6 dinos in the game because it wasn't finished yet. It was an alpha, and I was like really interested. It really got me into survival games. And Ark 2, I'm so excited for because it seems to be a prequel, because in the trailer Vin Diesel is playing Santiago, and for those who know Ark lore and for those who don't, Santiago was the person who figured out Element could have many uses, and which also led to the destruction of Earth and the Arks being made to get civilization back going.
Spoilers?
Spoilers. If you play Ark, you won't find this story out unless you look for the Explorer notes, because when the Wildcard first made Ark, which is a survival game, which then they added a story to later. So you're only going to find this information out by reading the lore entries on their website, finding the Explorer notes on game, or watching a YouTuber talk about it. Anyway, for those who, because some people even listening might be like, Ark has a story? What? And I would forgive you for thinking that, because it's a survival game. It's one of the few games when it first came out never had a story. When I was trying to get friends into playing it, they're like, "What's the story of the game?" I was like, "There isn't one. You just tame dinosaurs and have fun killing other players or building cool weird builds." But
it was around that era of survival games with absolutely no story.
Yeah, exactly.
Like The Forest, but The Forest now has a story.
Yeah, Forest now has a great story. Or Rust, for example. These games kind of all came out at the same time.
Quick random side note. Speaking about lore and stuff like that, we produce this podcast weekly. We release the podcast and then record on the same day. So sneakily, we're not actually talking to you live right now.
We're from the past.
Yes, last year even.
That's actually true.
If you want us to talk about some of your favorite things, let us know. Interact with us on the Facebook page, because we want to get more content out to you guys instead of leaving you.
Facebook, leave comments on the YouTube, tweet at us. Our Instagram is pretty much just memes. If you like memes for video games, anime, nerd stuff, our Instagram is just solely memes. But if you have any questions or even something you want to hear us talk about, please at us on Twitter at @ThrowsSaving, or comment on our Facebook comments, or again, we have a YouTube, subscribe and leave comments, or even don't subscribe, just leave comments, and we will read every single one of them, and we'll definitely sculpt our show to talk about what you guys want to hear.
But if you want to hear Ali talk about Ark lore, let us know. If you want to hear Harry take you into his little hidey hole filled with homebrew, let us know. If you want me to go on a massive 3-hour diatribe about science fiction, film, cinema, games, look, I gotta be real with you. I have a whole film degree. It's useless at the minute because we live in the end times. But I need to use it for something. So if you want me to reach you my dissertation or anything related to sci-fi film, please let us know.
That cry for help at the end will definitely confirm.
Ali, back to Ark.
Anyway, absolutely.
Kingsley's tears, just to use to undry up my hands. We saw it in the trailer. I was actually very surprised. Ark 2 was rumored for a while, but with a couple of DLCs the last DLC now coming out, a lot of people thought, no, they won't do Ark 2, because Jeremy, the head of Wildcard, was like, I wanted it originally, I'm not sure now. And we saw Vin Diesel in this opening trailer, and my first brain went to, are we getting a new Turok, or is it a different type of dinosaur survival game? My brain never went to Ark, because I was so weird seeing Vin Diesel, and with how good the graphics were, especially when it said all recorded from in-game, I was like, this isn't Ark. And then when I saw his daughter, the daughter in the trailer, turn over her wrist, and I saw the diamond-shaped implant, I was like, I actually rose at the chair with my other half and went, that's fucking Ark. That's fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's fucking Ark. That is the implant. I'm thinking that fucking Scottish thing. Oh fuck, that's Obi-Wan Kenobi. But I rose at my chair and I was like, this is fucking Ark. What the fuck? This is so weird. And then they confirmed it was Ark 2. But I think this is going to be a prequel game. Santiago is alive. Again, not to go literally, I don't want to talk everyone's ears off, but he's the guy that found it used for Element, blah blah blah, led to the end of Earth and then Arcs being made. But he also cloned himself and put himself in the Arc to help the survivors that were going to be ended up getting moved to the Arcs. And he created the mechs. If you go to the Arc map Extinction, you can find a massive mech sword in the ground and scratched on like a type of gravestone says Santiago. So seeing him here is proof that it's a prequel. Or maybe it isn't, because you see his daughter run her, maybe it's just fan service or Easter eggs, because Ark loves their Easter eggs. You see his daughter run her hand over a stone, and the depiction of all the story from before the first game is there. So I don't know if that's just fan service, or there's another clone of Santiago. Just from what we've seen, and the very primitive looking symbol, the Ark symbol is an A, with a triangle in each corner. It's the colour of one of the obelisks. The symbol for this one is the same triangle, but there's no lights on it, which gives a very more primitive vibe. Even seeing what they're wearing, very primitive. I am very, very excited for Arc 2, though. I don't even want to look how many hours I have in Arc 1. I think it's in the hundreds of hours, quite literally.
We haven't even talked about the fact that there's, I mean, I think you did, but, sorry, the Arc anime, right?
Oh,
the Arc anime.
That is crazy.
It's star-studded. You've got actual hunks like Carl Urban, Gerald Butler, David Tennant, Elliot Page, Russell Crowe, I think, is in it, right? Jeffrey Wright.
Russell Crowe,
and then obviously real life King. I don't know if Vin Diesel's done anything like bad. I'm gonna take it on face value. I don't think he has, so I'm gonna continue to call him a king.
Triple X was a masterpiece.
Triple X, right? Okay. Going back to sci-fi real quick. Chronicles of Riddick. If you want to get at me. Let's talk about it.
Oh, I love Chronicles of Riddick. Someone here, no one bad-mouthing Chronicles of Riddick.
Vin Diesel, real life lore, is a massive D&D nerd.
He actually, he's the reason that the Blood Hunter class was made by Matt Mercer.
Yeah.
He made that for when he had Vin Diesel on for a one-shot, and they were doing the
Vin,
last Witch Hunter.
if you want to come on the podcast, baby, you're more than welcome.
Because this will definitely reach him.
Superstar Vin Diesel, if you would like to arrive on the podcast.
Because
Michelle Yeoh, who is in Star Trek Discovery. A lot of people hate Star Trek Discovery. It's a very sanguine show. I think it's great. Michelle Yeoh, phenomenal on that show. That's my bit.
No, but I was like, for me, like, Ark is not a game that, if you say, oh, you ever played Ark? It's not like, oh, yeah, no, Ark is like, it's not like Skyrim or Fallout or any of the, or Call of Duty. It's not a big known game.
No.
Well, maybe I'm of that mindset because I played literally since there only was 100 players
Before
playing
it was cool.
But I'll never say that because that's super. I can't say the inappropriate word.
I was saying that before it was cool, man.
I bet you were. But Ark isn't. You haven't played Ark since the Dark Ages. But even still, a lot of people I talk to nowadays, they're like, "What's your favorite game?" I'm like, "Ark." They're like, "What's that?" And it's just, I was so surprised, such a stoked cast. One, I was surprised to see an anime announced. I'm very much looking forward to the animated series because they're going to cover all the lore that you now won't have to painstakingly search for, explore notes in game. But the cast is just so stoked. Like, for a somewhat small game, it is a crazy cast. Again, you've got Gerard Butler playing General Gaius, real douchebag in the lore. Love Gerald Butler, he's a Scottish actor, gotta love him. But in terms of lore, real bad guy. And you've got Davery Jacobs playing Ailsie. You've got Sissy Jones playing the Gladiatrix, this this commander in Navarra's army. Then you've got Madeline Madden. She's playing a 21st century Australian paleontologist, Helena Walker. For those who play Ark, you know Helena is somewhat, or not even somewhat, she is the main character of Ark. You find her explorer notes, her recipes, all throughout the game. As of her later DLCs, we now have her as a tech companion. It's a part of her consciousness she made when she ascended into a Homo Deus. You've got Deborah Mailman playing, funnily enough, Deborah Walker. We've got Zan McLaren playing the Thunder Comes Charging 19th century Lakota warrior. We've got Malcolm McDowell, another big actor.
Playing an actual king.
Yeah, an actual king. I love Malcolm McDowell. He is playing Senator Lucas Caesar Varilius. With that name, you can guess he is he's an aristocrat from during the reign of Caesar. We have Elliot Page playing Victoria Walker. We've got Raga Ragnars playing Queen Sigrid. David Tennant, another Scottish boy, give him some love. The best Doctor. I will die 100% on that hill. He was the best Doctor.
Also kind of die on that hill, dude.
Phenomenal actor. He is playing Sir Edmund Rockwell, which I am very excited for. Rockwell is the bad guy in Ark, which you never would have thought when you first played Ark. You'd find Rockwell recipes, but he's like a mad scientist. And when he rediscovered, keywords rediscovered Element, he done human experiments and made himself this horrible big monster. And also created Nameless and Reapers. He essentially became this cliche big bad guy. But in terms of lore, it was a really interesting journey to see him from this man of science who was wanted to be he wanted to see how everything worked. A very good scientist, but with classic science fiction, went down a dark road and changed himself forever. You got Alan Tudyk, again, another great actor. Firefly, countless geek roles. I am so happy, and he actually playing, which I think is the casting here was great because he is playing a captain who's like a buccaneer who profitably sails the dangerous waters around the Ark. I think that's a great role for Alan Tudyk. He's a great actor, and then playing this kind of captain, a pirate swashbuckler, is great. Then Carl Urban, I can't believe they got Carl Urban for this, but you can pretty much guarantee if something new's coming out that's geeky, or even old, I mean, nothing old's coming out now. Carl Urban's your man. He was phenomenal in The Boys, Lord of the Rings, Dread. He is such a great actor, and I will always think he would. He was in Doom. In Doom. I will always think he would be one of the best candidates to play Bruce Wayne. The dude literally looks like Bruce Wayne.
Whoa.
What I love is they've cast him to play. They've cast him to play Bob. Now, a lot of you Ark players will know when you first make your character, unless you edit your name, your default name is Bob. And a lot of the veteran Ark players will call a noob a beach Bob, because Bobs always spawn in the beach, they don't spawn in their zone, and they make crappy little houses there. And I love how they've cast a badass Carl Urban to play Bob. I can't believe Bob's even getting a character, because Bob is just a default name. I never thought, there's no lore entries from Bob. Bob is, because the female default name is Anne, and the male default name is Bob. It used to be human. Name is Bob and Anne. And it's crazy to think that I think they did that for the community, because everyone calls noobs beach bobs. The fact that they got the badass manly man Carl Urban to play Bob, and his little casting thing is, Bob, a recent square-jawed Ark arrival. I love
It's so funny to me that everyone has these insanely cool names, like Lucius Cassius Virilis, the Captain, Cor the Prophet, Sir Edmund Rockwell, and Bob.
And again, I honestly think that is just fan service to the players, because we use the name Bob as a beach Bob. They're a noob, and I think that's why they've thrown a Bob in there. We've got Jeffrey Wright playing Henry Townsend, an 18th century American watchmaker and a patriot spy. And we got Michael Yeoh playing Mei-Yan Lee. Sorry if I butchered that name. A 3rd century Chinese rebel leader known on the Ark by her reputation and as the formidable Beast Queen. In terms of lore, she is the woman who discovered taming, and her and Helena became amazing friends. And I won't go into the lore, because if the anime is going to follow the lore, then I don't want to spoil anything. And then you've got Ron Yuan, who's playing Han Li, a 3rd century Chinese rebel leader, brother to Mei Yin. And we've got Russell Crowe playing Cor the Prophet, an eccentric dino whisperer hailing from the time before recorded history, which I love. We've got Russell Crowe playing this caveman. And then we have Vin Diesel playing the 24th century mech pilot, gearhead, and freedom fighter Santiago. He is the man who discovered the uses for Element and the weapons that can be applied to the end of destroying Earth. But yeah, absolute stellar cast for what's a really slept-on game with not much notoriety. When I saw Vin Diesel in the trailer, I thought, okay, maybe he's come on because he loves Ark. But to see when they revealed the cast for the Ark anime, I mean, even you guys that don't play Ark, what do you think about this? Somebody who are not Ark players, what do you guys think about the cast for the animated series?
Kingsley, you want to go ahead?
I was literally waiting for you.
Whatever,
dude.
No worries.
It's as I said before, I've got a film degree. It's It's stacked. My only genuine worry here is that you usually front load something. Like, so when you take a film to a film or a TV show to a studio to produce it, you have what's called a package, where you throw in a director, you throw in the whole cast, you throw in the concept, and you sell that package to a studio. So my worry is
producing this. Actually, I wonder who is.
That's a good question.
Does someone want to tape that? Because I've got a mechanical keyboard. Actually, Kings, you can edit it out. I can Google it if you want. My keyboard will be very loud.
I've got it up on my phone right now. I will tell you. But basically, my worry is that because it's so star-studded, doesn't inherently mean that it's good, but the lore behind Ark is actually insanely interesting. Like, I've only dipped in a pinky toe, but I know for a fact, like, it's very cool. And if they've got all of these actors who, a lot of these actors have voice acting as a background. I mean,
and a lot of them don't. God. That's what's so surprising to me. Yeah. A lot of them are not voice actors. That's the first thing I noticed.
Jeffrey Wright was in Last of Us 2, and he was also in Rick and Morty. But he's like one of the smaller actors on there, I guess. I mean, not to put everyone on a ranking, but like a lot of them do come from like a voice acting kind of area, but a lot of them don't as well. So it's just getting this insane kind of cast together to be like, yeah, no, we're making an animated series.
I also think it might be somewhat good, because if you look at some of the actors that have been announced and actresses that have been announced for this, they clearly didn't need this paycheck. Like, I mean, like. No. Like, literally, like, if you look at, I'm not another person, but Gerard Butler, he's pumping out movies like crazy right now. And Russell Crowe, probably one of the most famous actors in the world. I can't imagine they need a paycheck from an anime series that bad. So I'm wondering if what they've came to is really enticed and intrigued these actors and actresses, because a lot of these people, I mean, almost all of them are still currently pumping out TV shows and movies. They won't need the paycheck. Obviously, they're definitely getting paid, but I wonder if they read the script and seen the storyboard, they were excited to be a part of this, because video games, everyone knows that video games are now like the main source of media which people consume, and I've always thought video games overtake movies and TV shows, and we're beginning to see that now. But
I just got myself very excited.
Also, painfully, most video game movies and TV shows suck. So they're taking a gamble, but I was like, honestly, some of these actors do not need the paycheck. So I'm hoping that's a good sign of they've got a great idea they're bringing to this, and that they have seen a taste and got them super amped to be a part of it.
Well, I'm looking deeper into the project now, and so Vin Diesel is an executive producer, right? So he's the one putting a bit of money behind the project, but also as a producer putting together the package, okay?
Wait, is he doing the anime as well?
I know he's the producer of the video game. Yeah, he's an executive producer on the anime.
And the video game? Jesus.
Yeah, and the director they've got on board is a guy called Jay Oliva, and I'm looking at some of his filmography now, and they're all like, he's done amazing stuff in the art department. He was in Thor Ragnarok, Wonder Woman, Batman. Nice. He was also in Deadpool. But he was the director for a lot of amazing DC animations. And as we all know, or maybe it's just me who knows this, DC films, look, trash. Come for me if you want, trash.
No, they are absolutely
DC
trash.
Animated films.
Oh, baby. Nicole Harry. Oh, baby. Whisper more. Like, Nicole Harry, 100%. Like, DC animated is, you cannot chef kiss hard enough. Their movies, on the other hand, absolute garbage fire. Yeah. So if you're saying that's who's directing, that is insane. Did you manage to find out who is actually producing this?
I can't find a producer.
Yeah, I looked for it. I couldn't find anything.
So maybe Vin Diesel and Xbox are fronting because this is an Xbox exclusive. Thankfully, unlike Sony, Xbox always make them PC exclusive as well. They don't just I really hate this exclusivity, but again, that's a topic for a different day. But I wonder if Xbox are also putting some money in, because if they have paid the bill for Ark 2, I wonder if it's like, we'll front some money for an anime as well, because that'll also then stir more people to buy the Ark 2 product. So maybe it's just Vin Diesel and Microsoft are producing this. To speculate. Want to put that there, to speculate.
Yeah. Speaking of exclusivity, I know we've given Ark its time in the sun, baby. Do we want to, Harry? I know you wanted to pop up and say something about the oh my god, what is it called? The Callisto Protocol. Is that what you're popping up for?
I literally wanted to say one thing and one thing only, and it's the silliest thing I've learned about the Callisto Protocol. It takes place in the PUBG universe.
What?
Oh my god, that's
right.
Sorry,
That's
what?
so weird to me.
What?
It's like,
what is place in the PlayerUnknown Battleground universe?
Yeah.
I was like,
is
what?
that? No, is that bullshit?
I'm not fucking with you.
I usually trust everything you say, but you have actual proof of that? That's fucking crazy.
It's striking distance. Striking Distance are the studio. I think who created PlayerUnknown.
No. The guy who created PlayerUnknown is a guy called PlayerUnknown. He created it with Tencent. So what the fuck?
Yeah. So, but it says right here, the Callisto Protocol is set in the PlayerUnknown's Battleground universe, but in the far future, it takes place in 2320 at a prison colony called Black Iron, located on Jupiter's moon Callisto.
What the fuck is the point? That people love Dead Space, right? People love Dead Space. You could have sold anyone on this game on the fact it was the same guys that made Dead Space and the same director, but why the fuck set it in a battle royale game that has long passed its time in the sun? Everyone talks about Fortnite now or Warzone. PUBG is no longer the Goliath battle royale game it used to be. I don't know anyone that still plays that game. I used to play that game relentlessly. I don't know anyone that plays that game. No one's streaming it anymore. So, like, I can't see the value of tying the universes together. That's so fucking weird.
What if it was called PlayerUnknown's Callisto Protocol?
Dude, I would fully shit the bed. I would shit the bed.
I would fucking cry.
For a moment, if I may, the lore behind Dead Space, immense, right? Insanely immense. There's this whole thing about far back in humanity's history, they sent these aliens called the Brother Moon, sent down this little thing that tricks us into building more signals for the Brother Moon. If that's in the fucking PUBG universe, right? If they're combined, I don't
think the universe will be combined because EA owns Dead Space, and we all know, I'm sure everyone listening knows how much of a knob end the EA is.
Yeah, EA, if you're listening.
Yeah, fuck you. First of all, you killed Star Wars, well, not as much as the fucking director of the what is it, the 7th movie, I guess?
Episode 8. Look, I don't want to come for you, Rian Johnson, but if I have to come for you, Rian Johnson, I'll come wholeheartedly.
Now he's just used your name and now he has full power over you, so, but we can't, unfortunately, Thanos snap those fucking movies out of existence. But what aid do they get? Like, I can't fathom why. Like, it's not like, for example, if they said the same universe as Fortnite, you would immediately think, okay, they're doing this to get a lot of hype and interest behind this. Because kids love Fortnite, everyone loves Fortnite, I don't. But, why the fuck tie the PlayerUnknown? That's so weird.
I might misjudge
the thing is, it's like a completely different genre as well, and also
it's a single player
far away
RPG about horror. How the fuck does that tie into battle royale? Winner. Literally, when you win, winner, chicken dinner. What the fuck is that got to do with single player RPG horror? Horror.
Oh god.
Horror.
Horror game.
My fave horror game. Speaking of sci-fi, right? The new Mass Effect game. The new one looks. Look, there's literally just a trailer out for it so far, and the trailer, like, we can pick that apart if you want to pick it apart. But after Andromeda, and after I think it might have been Andromeda.
No, it was Andromeda.
Yeah,
it was Andromeda.
Where, like, I know, like, a lot of our friends play the game, Harry, and they were so disappointed with how it ended.
I mean, I was disappointed with how it ended.
Anne's a massive fucking Mass Effect lover, and she is. I mean, she doesn't outright hate it because she's done a lot of fan theory for it and stuff like that. But yeah, like everybody, I think there's a single person who loves the Mass Effect 3 ending. Mm-hmm. You know, she's a part. I know she told me about this like fan theory, which sounds really cool. That Shepard actually survives. He's woke up in a ship or something like that. But yeah, a lot of people, again, as someone who's not played Mass Effect, I played a little bit of Andromeda. Yikes. But I know a lot of people were not happy at the pick your color ending. What type of dubstep do you get for the game?
Oh my god,
ending?
yeah. But in the trailer, I mean, that fan theory about Shepard is actually kind of, I guess, relevant to the trailer, because in the trailer, like, obviously we're zooming out, you're getting messages from 20th century or 21st century Earth. It's coming away from the Andromeda Galaxy, so this game is definitely, again, set in the Milky Way, and that's reinforced by one of the main Asari in the game, Liara Sony.
Is that the blue chick?
My girl.
That's the blue chick. That's the blue
because
chick.
Anne lost her ship when she saw her, and don't you see like the N7 ship piled in snow in the background as well?
You see N7 armor, so you see some of Shepard's armor. Exactly.
The thing about the trailer that sets me off, not necessarily in a bad way, the opening shot has images of two galaxies, Milky Way and Andromeda.
Yeah.
Of both of them. So it could be a sequel to both Andromeda and the Shepard trilogy.
What if it's maybe them doing some, what's the word I'm looking for? Fire control? You know what I mean? Some of them doing some control.
Control.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, basically them getting eggs in one basket. Maybe that's them saying like, look, Andromeda, we're not just retconning that, it is canon, but maybe with the show, and this is just me as a person, it doesn't play, there's nothing about it, this is my 2 cents, is maybe they're saying like, look, Andromeda happened, we're not retconning anything, but with seeing the old crew, or that girl from the old crew, because I know there were some figures in the background, but I couldn't tell you who the fuck they were, maybe it's them being like, look, Andromeda happened, we're acknowledging it, but we're going back to our core roots.
So I have watched this trailer a few times. Love Mass Effect, love everything about it. Played every game, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Here is some information that I have gleaned from watching the trailer over and over again.
Give it to me.
There is a Reaper in the background of the trailer.
Reapers,
and Michael Gamble.
Are Reapers those things that that come to destroy humanity every many years? Yeah. One thing I will say is because Anne literally told me the story from first, second,
spoiler alerts.
And don't worry about the spoilers because she told me everything. Because she said if you're going to
play, I'm saying for our listeners.
Oh, sorry. So yes,
alerts.
big spoiler alerts. And we'll give you.
You should know this.
Yeah, and we'll give you guys 5 seconds. 4. 3, 2, 1. If you haven't clicked away, fault's on you. Legally, you cannot do anything to us now. Unless you have our true names, then you have power over all of us. But those Reapers are the things that, come back every so-and-so to destroy humanity, blah, blah, blah. I love the story behind them. What Anne told me, it sounds super interesting. But considering there was 3 games for it, if I was a Mass Effect player and someone who's going to play through the remaster trilogy in March or April, whenever it comes out, and then hopefully play the new game, I've heard so much about these Reapers. I really hope they kind of step away from that and maybe break new ground. What I want from the new Star Wars movies when they eventually come out is get away from all that shit in the past, get away from the Skywalker, get away from everybody, and break new ground, try something different. Because if they do continue the Mass Effect storyline and they bring back Reapers, then what was Shepard sacrificed for? Obviously, we don't know what the chronological ending is, because I know there's 3 different endings. Unless BioWare have come out and said there's a canon ending, I don't know that.
So we can infer what the canon ending is based off of the background that we see in the trailer. It's not explicitly stated, but we can infer that the destroy ending, which is the red punch ending, as opposed to the blue and green punch ending.
You mean like Paragon?
Is that when Shepard melts himself and kills them all?
Yeah, he kills himself and then kills all the Reapers, which leaves their bodies laying around, like their dead bodies laying around the universe. So we can infer that is probably the destroy ending, which means that I think all AI gets destroyed in that ending. Shit. But I can't be certain. Well, because Edie, I think it's Edie. I haven't played it in so long, so it could be. We know that Edie gets destroyed in the destroy ending, as opposed to the synthesis ending, where everybody becomes half synthetic, half like material or like matter, like biological is what you might say.
Yeah.
So we think it might be the destroy ending, but you can't be sure because it's just like a teaser. But So I think if we're going the destroy ending, that means that Reapers can't be the big bad or not the enemy of this game.
Yeah, the mad thing as well is like, okay, if obviously the Reapers come back cyclically, Asari can live for 1,000 years, right? So this could be anywhere between like 100 years to 400 or 500 years after the whole Reaper event happened. So that means like we could be seeing something that is completely like non-canonically tied to Mass Effect 3 or Mass Effect Andromeda. Obviously, you said in the intro you can see Andromeda and the Milky Way. Real life lore. I'm dropping a few nuggets of these. This one's a real, like a genuine real life lore.
Nice.
The Andromeda and the Milky Way galaxy are slowly colliding. Obviously, it's not due to happen for 4.5 billion years, but still, they're getting closer. But I think it's more of like an artistic choice to be like, oh, they're really close to each other. That means our stories are intertwining. But we could be looking at something that is completely... Yes, we have Liara, but it is just like, that's our way in. That's our segue, if you will, from these games into a different game to get away from that ending that they literally had to release a DLC for.
To make better.
Yeah, isn't the DLC for Mass Effect 3 that whole heist thing?
Yeah.
Where like female Shepard wears that very interesting dress.
Yeah.
Because I put gameplay on. I didn't, like I said, I'd never played Mass Effect, so I never knew Shepard could be male or female if it was just a male. Because I've seen so much art of just Shepard, the male version. So when I put the gameplay on, we were just sitting talking shit and playing Magic. I was like, "Who's that guy?" And she was like, "Shepard." I was like, "What? Shepard's hot as fuck. What the fuck? I thought Shepard was like a bald dude." And she was like, "No, you get to pick what gender you are." I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Fuck, the art I saw Shepard was wrong."
Yeah. Also, the fact that it's on an ice planet, it could be what is it called? Ontaheter, right? The ice planet.
Yeah.
That has a lot of people hate it, but I always have a fun time when you do the Mako mission, where you're driving that insane 6-wheeled truck that still handles better than any car in Cyberpunk 2077 at the moment.
True.
But if you know, you know. You're driving that.
I have no problems with this at all, apart from my car hitting me whenever I call it, but...
I got stuck under a truck the other day on a motorbike, and I just kept doing barrel rolls. And you know what? I think the game's great, personally, but
so you are talking about Cyberpunk, not in real life. You didn't get stuck under a truck in real life.
No. I'm very careful about that. I'm very careful about that. Cool. Yeah, perfect. I always drive along the side of trucks. I always flip my car onto 2 wheels and drive along the side.
Very fast and furious of you.
It's a jitsu you need to practice very hard to unlock. Obviously, if you drive along the window and look the driver dead in the eyes, for a mere second, you can guess their true name. And if you have that...
Did you forgive your sensei for going all out?
I had to. But I said
this once, I will go all out.
I said, Sensei, just this once, I'm going all out. And I did.
Just this once.
Anyway, Mass Effect, it looks like BioWare's going all out with Dragon Age and Mass Effect
BioWare
at the same
have
time.
not been doing good recently. Like, fuck me. Mass Effect Andromeda, that was a horrible, buggy mess. Like, I watched all the glitches of that. I played XID Access back then, so I played the first couple missions, and it was I kept falling through the Andromeda, so I was like, yep, fuck this. I literally couldn't get out of spawn. I was like, fuck this. So many glitches with the faces, like some Assassin's Creed Unity level weird face glitches.
Oh my god.
And then I was so excited for it because, like, I'm a big Destiny lover, and when I saw Anthem announced, it looked like a better Destiny, and I love competition in a business space. Like, I was hoping that Anthem's going to push the box forward, and Destiny's going to be like, this is a threat to us, we need to now innovate. Like, competitive in the business genre is great, because it can often improve the things we love when these two companies go head to head. I had pre-ordered Anthem I was hyped for it. It was a fucking mess, man. Holy fuck. The graphics, mwah, beautiful. I thought the Iron Man type of flying was really fun, but there was no content. It was so repetitive. There was nothing to do. And they said they were going to remake the game and do like an Anthem 2.0, not an Anthem 2. They were going to they were going to redo the game and release it with a massive update. It was going to be Anthem 2.0. And I believed it could work because Destiny, when it first came out, was trash. Then when the Taken King came out for Destiny, oh my god, it fixed the game and it was amazing. But now the head developer from Anthem has left. That was a month ago or 2 months ago. He had left. That was reported. He had left the company. Now they've announced Mass Effect. They've announced Dragon Age. I'm like, well, then, how are BioWare finding the time for this? Because they said they were going to refix Anthem. It's been like a number of years now. No progress has been made. They announced a new Dragon Age and a new Mass Effect. But this is all from this is all from BioWare. So where are they finding the time? And hopefully, because it's not EA, these aren't quickened cash grabs. People love Dragon Age. Fuck, people play Dragon Age over and over and over and over, no matter it's 1, 2, or Inquisition.
I actually really want to play now. I'm gonna play.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Like, there's so many memes of how to stop playing Dragon Age. I love Dragon Age, but with that and them announcing a new Mass Effect as well, are these going to be hurried along messes like Andromeda was and Anthem was? Because I'm trying to be hopeful. It doesn't sound like I am, but I'm a realist and looking at that. Okay, BioWare has announced 2 games that are coming out. They said they're still working on fixing Anthem, but the head director left. So where are they finding the time to fix Anthem? How are they making a new Mass Effect? How are they remastering the trilogy? Because BioWare is also doing the remaster. How are they remastering the trilogy? And how the fuck are they bringing out a new Mass Effect? That's 2 games being worked on, because I will count the remasters being worked on, not a new game. And then 2 new games with a new story, because the new Dragon Age are going after the Dreadwolf. So where are they finding the time to have 4 balls in the air at once? And I'm not, and don't go like, oh, Ali, there's been tons of companies that have made 10 games at once. Yeah, but not with their recent track record, with how bad they have done with their last games, that where are they finding the time to do this? And is it going to be another, we had to rush it like, I know that Activision, EA, these companies force games to come out in a certain amount of time. That's how that usually makes the game be shit. But that also goes a little bit off to the devs as well. Like, how much are they going to put the blame on? Because if they announce these games, then all the flack can't be taken on the publishers. And I say this as someone who hates Activision and hates EA. I'm not trying to like defend them, but only so much shit can be pointed their way. Like I am genuinely nervous for the fact they're bringing out a new Dragon Age, a new Mass Effect, remastering the 3 Mass Effect games, and fixing Anthem. Where are they finding the time to do all of this?
Obviously they've got BioWare by now, right? Are a big studio, okay, backed by EA. They will have devs separated into different departments, because obviously you can't come off of one thing, right, being an expert on one thing, and go on to another thing and be like, yeah, I'm going to do this thing just as well. They'll have teams separated, so people working on Anthem exclusively on the Anthem team. Mass Effect, they'll have a Mass Effect team, and then they'll also have a Dragon Age team. And the Dragon Age team will hopefully, will be the same team that worked on things like Inquisition and Origin, right?
Yeah, I'm just hoping we're not getting a day one, or what has become the norm for games now, a month one buggy piece of shit mess.
It's crunch time.
And the thing I'm worried about, if you guys or anyone listening knows about EA, this is not a tinfoil hat theory or a conspiracy theory. This is actual fact. Look up all the game studios EA has bought and look how many they still have. Because they don't just rent, they buy, and then if a game company does too bad, they liquidate them. EA has consumed so many companies, and I worry that if BioWare releases 2 shitty things, that EA is going to be like, okay, you've kind of fucked it, we're going to liquidate you and put you on the dice and put you on this, because they have before liquidated companies and put them onto Battlefield and FIFA. That is that, and this is not a conspiracy. Look up the amount of companies they have liquidated from within, from underperforming, which is kind of shitty because EA pushes them, and then when they rush them, they're like, why did the game do so bad? Well, you rushed them, that's why. But I worry that this might be the last straw for BioWare. I was shocked to hear 2 games get announced, because I thought they'll devote all their attention to one game, so there's no fuck-ups. Now there's four balls in the air, and I'm really worried if this fucks up, EA is very likely to just liquidate them because they have done that with so many game companies in the past. So many.
Yeah, obviously,
absolutely.
Do all your own research and stuff, folks. We're not gonna sit here and pump you full of our opinions, but of course we are. That's why you're here.
That's the best thing for an open discussion. Don't ever, whether it's the news, a politician, your friends, don't ever just take anything at their word. Do your own research. Inform yourself. That is the best thing you can do. We may say that we know what we're talking about, and sometimes maybe we do. Other times we probably have not a fucking Scooby what we're talking about, but always do your own research. Don't take anything at face value, because Chinese whispers can happen and things can get grayed and fogged. Always do your own research.
Real life lore, right? Real life lore. Reality.
People can't have more than one name.
People can. Real life lore. Reality is very subjective. You might have a family member who believes one thing and another family member who believes something completely different. Both of those, you know what? No, this is going to be a diatribe that maybe is not fit for a gaming podcast.
Yeah, Ali, gaming.
Why not roll that dice?
Podcast. Yeah,
let's
roll that dice.
Let's roll the subject dice of equality and love.
But very exciting stuff for the Gaming Awards.
So that topic is going to be how do you keep a player who's memorized the monster manual back to front on their toes? This is a great topic and something I've had to deal with myself and probably you guys as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Obviously we all come up with the topics together. We don't go to an office space and beat the ever-loving shit out of each other saying this is what we're going to talk about this week.
Oh, but if we get enough money and get famous enough that we actually have a recording studio,
we'll live stream them.
I can't wait for the days we can beat the shit out of each other.
We'll live stream it.
Yeah, we got a full wrestling ring.
Yeah, full Fight Club. Remember the first rule about Fight Club? Don't give your true names out so no one can take control of you.
Don't give out your true name.
I think we watched very different Fight Clubs.
Oh, no. Shit. I watched Lovecraft Fight Club. Isn't that the only Fight Club?
I watched Shonen Jump Fight Club. So I don't know.
H.P. Lovecraft's Fight Club.
Shonen Jump the Knife Club, which has a very different thing.
Knife Club is a lot more lethal than Fight Club.
Shonen Jump Fight Club, it's a lot of running with your arms behind you and shouting Sasuke at the top of your lungs during every fight.
Truly, we cannot keep on topic. We all
You are my rival!
ADHD riddled motherfuckers. Harry put this topic in. Me and Harry, most recently, I hope you've all been very good boys and girls and gender neutrals. Me and Harry,
you don't
both
realize,
for
Kingsley,
Christmas.
but you just turned on a third of our audience for the bad girls out there and the good girls out there, the bad boys and the good boys. You just turned on a third of our audience.
All my good and bad NBs as well. Me and Harry both got Kobold Press. If you're listening, I love you. We both got Tome of Beasts. And Harry loves Tome of Beasts. He pops off. And you know what, folks?
Dude.
I'm gonna look, I'm picking you all up right now. If you're in your car, stop driving. I'm picking you up right now.
Stop driving
Please
right
don't
now.
listen to him. If you're on a highway, this is what I mean. Do your own research. Thinking for yourself. Is it wise to stop on the highway going to 80 right now? Please do not.
Yes, I'm picking you up. I'm putting you in Uncle Harry's lap, and I'm gonna let him tell you all about Tome of Beasts.
Don't like that analogy, but thank you.
Is that a deck of magic cards in your pocket? Are you happy to see me, Uncle Harry?
I've got a very weirdly shaped penis. It's rectangular and kind of like a deck box. So moving on swiftly. So the thing about playing D&D, it's great. You love to play it, but sometimes you got players who are also DMs. All three of us are players who are DMs. We play. Yes. We are DMs, and we DM for each other. We play in each other's campaigns. DMs very often have scoured through the monster manual. They not necessarily know it back to front, but they know creatures to use from that. And they will absolutely recognize when you are using a creature that they have used against you or have used against other people.
Exactly.
So, it's kind of hard not to metagame if you are a DM.
Yeah.
Especially if you know, this is an archer, I have to do this specific strategy. They work best doing this. So it's kind of like, it can be hard to pull a fast one on your players. Now, I don't mean to say that you should be pulling a fast one on your players to get, like, to kill them, to murder them.
Always, like a wizard cast fireball, you TPK your players every chance you get. No, please don't do that. You will lose very fast.
That would be the most unfun thing in the world. Like, D&D is comprised of maybe 5% where the DM can go, ha, I got you. But, like, it is that 5%. That's that level of surprise that you want to give your players, where your players go, I actually don't know what I'm facing. I've never seen this ability before. And it's like, that is when you get the most genuine reactions from your players, where they are surprised, they're taken aback, they're like, I've never seen this thing before. Now, the most obvious answer would be to use homebrew. Now, homebrew, we've said this before in this exact episode, 5e is so mutable. It allows for you to create your own homebrew almost intrinsically. It's like, it is built to do that. In a way it's built for
there's
DMs
rules in
to
the
choose
monster
that.
manual and DMG for making monsters.
Yeah, literally, they put it in the official content. They say, please make a monster.
Disclaimer: be very careful.
Yeah, truly do.
And so, yeah, that is, if you're using homebrew, you should be super careful and be
Homebrew
prepared
is a
to alter it on the
double-edged
fly.
Yeah, homebrew is a double-edged sword.
If your monster has 2 phases or 3 phases, once it hits a specific HP threshold and it changes abilities and does something new, and your players haven't even got through the first stage and they are hurting, get rid of those last 2 phases, because it will murder them.
Yeah,
or drop a phase.
Yeah, don't be afraid to just cut some shit out in the fly. I can tell you that I wing more of my sessions than I do plan, because one player choice can throw away all your notes. And also you gotta consider, don't get me wrong, sometimes if your players are being dumb and they think, like, for example, so you got a bunch of level 5s and they see a dragon fly off in the distance and it breaks past the clouds and enters a mountain. And someone's like, what kind of dragon was that? Give me a perception check or history or whatever, nature, animal, whatever you want to do. And you go, that's an ancient dragon. You know this thing's a fucking bad idea. And if those level 5 players are like, no, let's go fight it, they've got a horde, then they need to pay for their actions. Don't let them go and kill an ancient dragon, because then that off-kilts your balance for everything else they'll fight, because they'll look at everything and go, well, if we kill an ancient dragon, one of the hardest things in the game, we can kill anything. No, if you're like group of level 5 players want to go fight an ancient dragon, open with a breath attack. Show them how bad it can go very fast. If they choose to stay and fight, that is their own fault. If they get the fuck out of there, they learned a lesson. But on the side note, don't actively try and kill your players.
Yeah, ancient dragons are look, for new players, there is a thing called CR. I'm sure your DMs know about this. An ancient dragon is CR 23, right?
Or
a goblin.
18. It depends on the fucking dragon.
It really does. It depends on the chromatic color.
But for intensive purposes, CR 20 plus.
Yeah, CR 20 plus, right? If you're a 20th level druid, shapeshift, you can be an ancient white dragon. It's very fun.
Yeah, shapeshift, not wild shapes. To clear that out.
Yeah, concept. Goblins are. Correct me if I'm wrong, lads, but goblins are CR 1/4 or 1/2, right? That puts that usually into context, right? CR isn't always. This is a thing about D&D, D&D 5th edition that maybe is a little bit different. I know me and Harry use a little bit of a different system here. We use a little thing called gift glyph, which helps you figure this out by using monster levels instead of CR. CR isn't always perfect. Again,
really isn't.
with veteran players, a good rating their CR. And using monsters up to that CR might be helpful for newer players to make sure you don't kill them. Because every encounter has, you've got easy, you've got medium, you've got hard, and then you've got deadly. I know for a fact Harry loves to use deadly encounters, but he doesn't use CR. Do you want to, what is it you use? Is it the monster level system?
So I kind of use a mix. I kind of use a mix and match, but I do try and use the monster level system. But like ultimately I'm running at like ranking. I try to rank situations off of like deadly to non-dead. Like they have that whole ingrained system where like an encounter is deadly, and then I don't quite remember the tiers, but like you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But basically, I try and gauge how dangerous I want the encounter to feel like. Do I want the encounter to feel like this is a thing where you can die? You were very obviously gonna die or get murdered here. So like, and it's all like tonal. You don't want a fight against 6 scorpions that have just shown up out of nowhere to be deadly
because it's in the middle of a tundra.
in the middle of a tundra, but also just like in a forest. Like if you guys are walking and like, bah, a scorpion shows up and it fucking murders you. It's like, it doesn't feel great. But anyways, we're fully veering off track, and I can sense we're veering off track. So I'm gonna be the bowling alley gutters to get us back on track.
Be our anchor.
I'm anchoring us. I'm manifesting the anchor. Moving us back. How do you make monsters feel original? How do you take people off like balance? Something that I really, really like to do is I love to reflavor monsters.
Yeah.
You look at their abilities, you look at what they can do in the monster manual, and you go, what other kind of creature would have these kinds of abilities? Now, one thing that I really enjoy, and I saw this on Reddit a few months ago, and I've been using it ever since, you take a non-humanoid monster from the monster manual, and you turn them into a humanoid, and you think, what kind of, you can turn them into an adventurer, a rogue or a bandit, however the fuck you want to do that. And you think these abilities that these creatures have, what does that translate to? So, I saw someone use a beholder with its different like eyes, and like the different eye beams have different effects. They reflavored that into an archer with different trick arrows, and each of the eye beams was a different kind of arrow that they could use. And that's cool because you'd think, as a DM, you face off against this thing and you'd go, oh, what is this? What kind of creature is this? Because you're not fully connecting the dots in your head because it's completely reflavored beyond what it originally is in the monster manual. And that's a really easy way, without even any mechanical changes, to really spice up your monsters and change how your monsters look and how your players perceive them.
Yeah, and that keeps your veteran players guessing as well. I mean, I think I know the post you're on about as well, because I saw that. But just that simple trick of literally changing a beholder, the crazy multi-eyed madman of the Forgotten Realms, into an archer is so helpful. I saw something very cool the other day that was literally a juvenile dragon, right? But it's flavored as a white scaled bear. Right, it's like a polar bear dragon, and I just immediately
my
as a
main
DM
theater already is like, ooh, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's something cool. But it like in your campaign, Ali, we've gone up against things that a majority of our players, again, are 4 of us are veterans, 5 are not. So like when they come up against a thing called a Grick, they're like, what the fuck is a Grick? Whereas 4 of us are just like, okay, get the fuck away. There are certain things you as a veteran player, it's very hard to, even me, I love roleplay, but going from the DM side of it, like, how do you keep your players interested? How do you as a player avoid meting? How do you avoid getting into the larger world of D&D? Like, if you've read the monster manual back to front, how do you be like, oh, I'm still interested in this fight. I know the resistances, I know the immunities, but my character doesn't. How do you maintain that?
I have 2 fronts. I have the player's mindset of it and the DM's mindset. So I'll go down the player's first.
Oh, we all do, you know?
I'll go down the player mindset first. Perfect example. When I first came to sit at Tom's table as my paladin, we were fighting an ogre. And it kept healing. And I knew for a fact that fire would stop it from healing. Did I use fire? No, I didn't. Because my character didn't know that. But then I had the realization that my paladin, who was an oathbreaker who had been traveling the world smashing out what he deemed as evil, would have ever came across an ogre. So I just said to the DM, hey Tom, you have read my backstory. You know what my character has done. Obviously in the backstory I didn't give you a list of things I've slayed. So question to you, have I ever come in contact with an ogre before? He went, oh definitely, Callum Shine would have definitely into an ogre. I'd go, okay. Next question, would I know about how to stop this thing from healing before I do it in character? Oh, if you fought an ogre, I'd say you'd know what to do then. Okay, cool. I'm now going to cast Burning Hands. Or I'm going to Flame Smite this to get some fire. But if you're ever genuinely unsure as a player, maybe ask your DM, hey, would I ever come across as my backstory? Or if you're a wizard, one great caveat or one great fucking MacGuffin for wizards is just say to your DM, have I read about ogres? And if your DM says yeah, or your DM might even say, give me a history check, then you can put it to the die. And if you get like a 4 or 5, no, you haven't. Or maybe you have read about them, but you can't quite remember what they're weak to. Then That's it. You have to be, one, fair and honest to your DM and not ruin the sanctity of the game and go, well, I know, but my character doesn't, and I just have to swallow this pill and play as my character, because you're not playing as yourself.
Yeah.
You'd be a lot weaker, no offense to all the listeners, but you would be a lot weaker and way more useless if you were playing yourself in one of the situations, unless you're some like
Also,
hardened explorer.
No magic
IRL.
items.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like,
and it comes
here's
down
what
to
I will
you.
say. Here's what I'll say. You can always ask for a roll.
Yeah.
You can always ask for a roll.
Oh.
I mean, don't roll without your DM telling you to.
Yeah,
but
never.
Like, if you say,
that's
if you
the
be like,
thing
have I found?
Oh no, you first. How you
Sorry,
first?
have I seen have you seen ogres in the world? And you're like, okay, I don't quite know if my character's seen ogres. And what say, hey, has my character met an ogre? And they go, unsure. They say, roll a history or roll a nature, and it's like, just roll it. And if you get low, you've not seen an ogre. If you get high, you can use that meta knowledge.
And one thing I'll say
character.
is never. This is a bit of a side tangent. I'm only going to talk about it for a second. Never roll without talking to your DM first. Luckily, I will never happened in one of my games, and it's because the player was new. But I will, and it might seem a bit harsh, but if a player goes to me like, I'm gonna Arcana check this, nat 20, I get this. Now tell me what it does. I'm gonna go, well, hold up a fucking minute. One, I didn't say you could roll, and two, you told me you're a halfling from a village that has no magic in it, and there's 4 people, and your life has been good. You've never even seen a wolf before. So how the fuck would you know what that is? It's not just because you got a nat 20. Don't get me wrong. You can only crit combat, but I will 9 times out of 10 will always give you a nat 20 on a skill check or something else, and I'll give you way more than you would have got originally, even though you can't crit those things. But don't just roll. If someone rolls at my table without my permission, I'm going to punish them in a way. And that sounds really aggressive, but I mean, like, don't just, like, because players are good at different things. Don't rob. Like, for example,
this was fully what I was about to tangent onto.
If someone's a rogue there and you're a fucking druid and you're like, I'm gonna roll to disarm this trap. Oh, I got a 19 plus this. It's like, well, hold, like, one, give other players a chance to shine, and two, please ask me before you roll, because there might be other things that work here. That's a very small tangent. Now going back to it, I've given the player side of it. Where it comes down to how much you respect your DM and your players. Don't just meta. Meta's not cool. It's not fun. Yeah, you all want to have the, how do you want to do this? You're the hero moment of this encounter of the day. And you want to have that hero worship from your other players at the table or your party members. But don't just, remember, your DM works hard to make these encounters. And don't just meta because you want the chance at glory. You'll get that chance. Meta's not cool. On the DM part of that, obviously, I agree with what you say, Kingsley, that sometimes you're good DMs in your playgroup and they just know this shit because some of them have been DMing for maybe a year, maybe 10 years. I've got a DM that's been DMing for like 30 years. So it's totally understandable if that just happens because maybe they're not having the thought of to meta. Maybe it's just second knowledge because they've been DMing for so long. How many players have they ran in that encounter that they've ran into the same thing you're fighting now? They could have ran 50 encounters with this one creature type. So maybe it's second nature. Personally, just to make it, this isn't even something to avoid meta, it was because I wanted my 4 new players, my 4 veteran players to still have an enjoyable time as my new players were, where like, when you play a video game for the first time, everything's new and you don't have a clue. I want the veterans to still feel that, not like, oh, well, you don't get to experience something new because you shouldn't have played D&D before my game. No, that's not fair. So I will always either, well, funnily enough, I'm strictly homebrew now in my campaign because I have a lot of fun creating monsters. And maybe they'll share the same name. Like my party encountered a kraken recently. It was not a kraken from the monster manual. Its name is a kraken, but it was all homebrew, everything I could do, all me. I have more fun homebrewing things like that. It also keeps older players on their toes. The advice Harry gave about switching things around, great advice. I would also say that even if you're a new DM, you're like, but I'm not used to homebrewing. Take something at the monster manual and then look at it and go, okay, instead of 3d4, what if it's 2d8? Or even increase the damage, give it more health, change one of its abilities from a single target to an AoE so it targets multiple people. Change the DC. It's a charisma save, now it's a con save. Just change things.
Play with layer actions.
Yeah, exactly, and that's something I first started doing when I first started DMing was I wanted my veteran players to have a new experience along with the new players. So I would say just this wasn't the case. This is just a loose example. This is a dragon in front of you, a red dragon. Cool. Its breath attack is lightning. What? Also, it can teleport. Now, I never did this, but this was along the lines of the example. I changed something they knew into something completely different, because magic's fucking weird. That's the best excuse in D&D when a player asks something, how can it do this? Because fucking magic, man. Magic's weird.
Yeah.
And another thing is, this is a bit of advice for DMs. If you have a player at your table who is purposely metaing and purposely using outside information that you know for a fact you've got their backstory, there's nothing about this, they're purposely metaing, you either sit that player down, because maybe they don't know, and talk to them like, hey, I'd rather you didn't do this, you're kind of ruining the fun for everyone, or just sit and talk to them. If that doesn't work, show them that's not allowed. That I have a pretty harsh term in my game, but I want this to be clear that it's not if someone's like, I know this shopkeeper has 5 intelligence or 5 wisdom, so I can easily pick, no, nothing like that. But if someone really metas, like for example, players talk, we all know this, we're all DMs here, we're all players here. Players talk. Sometimes you get too excited and you get a bit of backstory information in a conversation, you're like, shit, I wanted to come up at the table. And then say character, let's use Harry Kingsley for an example. Say Kingsley was like, shit, my character's the son of Asmodeus. And I didn't mean to tell you that last time we hung out. Please don't use it at the table. And Harry's like, of course. And then next session, his character comes up and goes, I had a premonition of necrotic energy around you. Are you the son of Asmodeus? Shit like that I do not tolerate, and I will instantly kill a player on the spot for that. Because one, that spoils a potentially big arc for a player, or it could have been a twist they wanted everyone at the table to be shocked about, and you've just ruined that. So for DM advice, I would, one, if your player is a toxic player, kill them outright. Or, I think what Harry and Kingsley might agree with in this bit of advice is, maybe you need to ask yourself the question, do you want them in your playgroup?
Yeah,
like that's
I
a
think
question you're allowed to ask, because if you think this player belongs in your playgroup, because I am so lucky, and to all my players, if you are listening, I love you with the bottom of my heart. I am blessed to have a playgroup that role plays, interacts, cares about each other, and they never do any of this bad. Like, I've seen so many memes and horror stories on Facebook, all these social networks, people bitching about their players. I've never had this problem because my players are beautiful and perfect. I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. It's my first time DMing, or used to be first time DMing. I've got a great play group. But you do have to ask yourself, if there's a player that you're constantly asking yourself, why are they doing this? Why are they making my life harder? Why are they making the game harder for everyone? You need to really sit down and think, well, do I want them in my play group? Because if you could have a better time without them and they're spoiling other folks' fun, you need to decide, because you're the DM, that is your play group, you need to decide if they deserve a seat at your table.
I've got two kind of things to carry off of that. One is, if you're a player, right, and obviously we're still on going straight back to the topic, and you know this information about either a player's backstory, a certain thing a character doesn't want you to know, or a monster. If you, as a player, know that information, don't, in a way, quasi-meta, so don't make your character's motivation finding that information out, right? You know what I mean? So it's like, if you, like Ali said, know someone is the son of Asmodeus, don't immediately make your character's first guess, oh, that's some necrotic energy. Ah, you must be a daughter of the Raven Queen. Don't do that, right? That's something like, yeah, maybe you share some things with other players, and you sometimes, as a DM, I will use some of my players as triggers, right? Not in a railroady kind of way, but in a way that, like, I know you want to start this arc, I know you want to spread this information, I know we want to start this story together, I might have you trigger this bit of information, right?
Yeah, I mean,
something like that.
Yes, even something similar. When you guys, the first place you guys ever started off, it was Coil Turn, and then you guys were given a map by the barkeeper, and you guys picked where we're going to go. From my DM side of that was forever town you guys went to first was going to trigger something from a backstory. You guys went to Black Hollow, so that triggered Atarax's backstory. But if you guys went to other places, it would have triggered something from Mortis, Quinn, Sylvia. She's dead now. Now it's a new character, but
R.I.P. my queen.
Yeah, R.I.P. Sylvia, eating her brain devoured by a mind flare. But yeah, you can have triggers like that. It's just conversation with your players is important, and if you feel that conversation isn't working, get that player to fuck out your playgroup.
One thing, sticking on the topic that we actually rolled for, what do you think is the most recognizable creature? Whether you're a veteran DM or a veteran player or a new player? Because I've got my hot take on this.
Would you mind giving an example, actually? Because I have a few that come to mind, but I feel like there might be one that you'll say, and I'm like, no, that is the biggest staple.
Everyone knows about goblins and dragons, right? But here's one thing, and you always forget about it, right? You always forget about them until you're in a situation where it's like, oh, this is so obviously a fucking mimic, right?
Oh, shit. Yeah, that's what I mean. I wasn't even thinking of mimics. See, that's why I'm glad you gave an example. I wasn't even thinking of a fucking mimic.
Mimics, easily the most recognizable thing.
I agree. I have to agree.
Meta. Like, it's so hard to not meta it. In any campaign, you're like, I'm going to touch this doorknob. And the DM goes like, are you sure? Your immediate first reaction is, it's either booby-trapped or, fuck me, this is a mimic, right? Any kind of treasure chest, mimic, right? And I don't know whether that's the prevalence of mimics in other video games, because a lot of written adventures, right, don't actually use mimics. But look, I'll die on this hill. Mimics are the most recognizable D&D monster. No matter whether you're a new player or a veteran player, you will always be on the lookout for mimics, whether your character knows about them or not.
Well, the first place I encountered mimics was actually Dark Souls. Dark Souls love their fucking mimics, man. They love their mimics.
I've used mimics. Harry,
and that's the thing is, another thing is, I would even class it as meta. I mean, literally by definition, it's fucking meta. But there comes a point where, like the first ever dungeon you guys ran in my campaign, I had booby tracked in my first ever dungeon, so I was like, fuck it, we're gonna trap almost every door and put a bunch of mimics in because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And there gets to a point where your player's like, I'm gonna open this door. Wait a minute. I'd like to investigate first, and that can come from sometimes overuse of that stuff with your players, because if for example, if 4 out of 5 doors they use or go through are trapped, instinctively, like a survivalist, your brain is going to treat it like you're actually there and be like, wait, the last 4 doors have been trapped, why the fuck wouldn't the 5th one be? And then if you're DM, and if you're a DM, don't disregard your player. If they're like, can I investigate the door? Don't be like, it's just a fucking door. Why are you asking that? Well, it's because you gave them 4 doors that were mimics or trapped, and they're nervous about the 5th one. And it could be meta because you're maybe like, I want to investigate this door because the last one. But that's also survival knowledge. If you're telling me you were trapped in a place and your last 4 doors were booby trapped, why the fuck would you open that 5th door? Like, that's not, like, I guess it's meta, but it's also survivalism. And sometimes overuse of a certain thing. Like, I've not used a door trap in ages. And you bet your ass, my players, mainly Kingsley, when they see a door, like, can I investigate the door? And sometimes for fun, I'll go, roll me an investigation check. And if they get a really shit roll, I'll say in a very gravery buttery tone, you think the door is completely fine? And they're like, oh, I didn't. Instantly, like Jen for one, and so will Anne will go, oh, I do not like his voice right now. And then
I do every time I'm stealthing.
And then Kingsley will open the door and go, okay, I open the door, and I'm like, the door opens. He's like, wait, really? I'm like, it's just a door, man. Sometimes a door, I think every day I'm just this phrase, sometimes a door is just a door. But you do have to be careful if your players are, if you're the type of DM where your players love dungeon crawling, so almost every session is a new dungeon, be careful not to put the same shit in, because your players will instinctively doubt that.
Sometimes the best mimic is a door that isn't a mimic.
Exactly. Like in Magic the Gathering, if you have a counter spell in your graveyard and your players see you recur it to your hand, they might not play anything because they're afraid to get it counter spelled. That by the card not even being used, but is actively being used. Because if they don't want to play anything, you're technically countering spells multiple times. And like Harry just said, sometimes the best mimic is something that isn't a mimic.
That is another thing as well. Like, it fully just came to me right there, is that as players and as characters, right, depending on how much you adventure and blah, 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 certain creatures have magical resistances and certain spellcasters have counterspell. At a meta level, you know that those are good resources and you want to burn them, right? As a character, you can kind of justify it by saying, I've seen other spellcasters do counterspell, why would this one not? I've seen other magical creatures burn a magical resistance, why would this one not? But it's one of those, there is such a fine line in Dungeons & Dragons where it's like, yes, don't meta, but at the same time, when it comes to combat, be tactical. And it's like, if you're already role-playing, right, and embodying a completely different person, and then you have to think tactics given that person's knowledge, it's almost like it's like being asked to roll a boulder up a hill, right? It's a Sisyphean task, right? It is almost impossible to do. But, you know, it's just one of those weird things where it is like, yes, if you know the monster manual inside and out, then it's hard to surprise you. But there are times where I will obviously have to give you, like, there are givens, right? An 18th level spellcaster has counterspell.
Yeah, and also, for example, if Harry came to me, and it was in my playgroup as a ranger monster hunter, and if I said, you encounter an ogre, and Harry's like, cool, I'm going to put on my burning arrows, or I cast firebolt. Don't always think the worst of your players, because if Harry came to me as a monster hunter ranger, and I saw him using fire, I wouldn't go, how did you know an ogre was like, vulnerable to fire? I'd be like, that makes sense. They're a monster hunter, so they'd know that. Like, that's fair. Like, don't always, it's a tiny thing, but don't always assume the worst either, because sometimes it's a happy accident, or they are actually sticking true to character.
Yeah. I would just as a, it's not even really a tangent. It's kind of based off of what you just said there. Your player characters are adventurers. They're gonna be good at specific things. Allow them to be good at certain things. And if that thing that they're good at is that I kill a shit ton of monsters and I know how to kill monsters, let them kill monsters, man. Like, and the same thing applies to characters that might not know that stuff. Like, hey, if your character is from a tiny village and you're a beautiful cinnamon roll child and you don't know anything about killing monsters, but they are from a farming village, a little baby Cinnabon boy or girl, or neither of those. Like, if your character is good at a specific thing, allow them to be good at that. You know, I'm from a farming village, so yeah. Fuck yeah, you know how to coax a cow out of a fucking whatever, out of a, like, it's stuck on a tree. You know how to coax a cow that's stuck on a tree? Yeah, of course you know how to do that, because you're from a farming village. You've dealt with these fucking jumping cows your entire life. Like, it's, give you, on the one hand, don't let your players be like, I've played D&D for 5 years, so I know the monster manual back and front, and I ruin the fun for everyone because I get into combat and immediately announce, this is its weakness, and we're gonna do this. Don't let them steamroll everyone like that.
Yeah,
but if they're doing it
that's
through
great,
the vector
actually.
of the...
That is great. That's like...
if they're doing it through the vector... If they're doing it through the vector of their character, allow it. If they're doing it from the goodness of their character, from the experience of their character... Be cool, say, you would know this. Think about it from their character's perspective. You would know that. So I'm gonna let that slide. And then, you know, don't let them fucking abuse that. Like, don't let them use that on every creature that you throw against them. And even design some encounters around, this is a creature that you don't know about. This is something that your character has no expertise in at all. And then throw them for a loop that way and say, oh, I fight monsters. Do I know this? This is a construct. You don't know how to fight this. Yeah, this is something that's completely new to you.
And to totally nail on Harry's point, yeah, do not allow steamrolling. It's not fun and it's not nice for anybody there. And even another simple thing. Say, for example, like, I love looking for monster images on Pinterest. So I'm doing 90% of the time is looking for monster or character art on Pinterest. But say you want, again, if you're not good at homebrew, say that you really want to throw a Balrog at your players, look up fucking demon on Pinterest, get a picture, and then put a name through a Latin translator or any other translator and go like, put the picture in if you're doing Roll20, or if you've got a different mini if it's a home game, use a different mini and go, this is the Carusta, and they're like, holy shit, what is that? And just use all the fucking stats of a creature, because they're not going to be able to look up a fucking Carusta. I don't even know what that word is, that's made it up. If it means something in the other language, I apologize if it's an insult, but use that name in that picture. They're not going to be any the wiser at using a Balrog unless it doesn't have wings and it starts flying for its fly speed. Then they might be a little bit confused. But you can just swap a name and an image from total random things, and you've got the stats right there. This is a little quick section.
Asselthrax.
Yeah, this is Asselgrax.
Another fun bit.
Prince of the Fallen Star.
Fun bit of real life lore. In D&D, we are always so, like, as DMs and world builders and everything, you always put so much effort into naming things and being like, yes, this is called blah 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 because it relates back to this ancient magi who saved the world. In real life, people are shit, dude. There is a frog called the Colombian. Its scientific name literally means Colombian I don't fucking know frog, right? There are rivers in England called River, right? The kangaroo in Aboriginal language. This one is probably actually a not real, but people in real life don't put any fucking effort in naming things, right? In England and Scotland, we have villages literally called Ayr, right? There's a town called Ayr, and it is called Inver Ayr in Gaelic, and that literally means at the mouth of the River Ayr, right? That's not hard. That's not difficult. That's not
and even
a lot of
another
effort.
thing is that not a lot of people, that's a lie. Scottish people use the word ken for I know. And a little bit of Scottish real life lore. Everyone in Scotland, almost everybody you meet will go, oh, I ken, which means I know. And ken actually goes back, because actually one of the real Scottish words we still use. It originally referred to beyond someone's ken, beyond someone's knowledge. But now we go, I fucking ken that, mate. And that means I know that, mate. But
ken is just knowledge.
Yeah, and like I said, like Kingsley makes a great point. You don't have to sweat over names, and I can't really back him up saying that because I sweat over names all the time.
I know.
Because names can be dumb, but you also feel kind of cool when you say a name and your whole playgroup goes, "That's a badass name," and I'm like, "Yeah, fucking is." Took me 9 hours. Nothing else got done.
Never forget the power of names. If you can speak the true name of a thing, you have ultimate dominion. That is why we are never going to tell you the real name of this podcast. You can try and take it from our cold dead hands, but we will never have it. You will never take that from us. Vin Diesel, if you want to come and try, Steve Buscemi, if you want to come and try, Piezo Games, if you want to come and try, I'll have Spelljammer. I'll have Starfinder.
They're gonna fully sue us.
They can try, dude. They don't know our true name.
Vin Diesel. The estate of Vin Diesel will beat my ass.
Yeah, that's right. Those SavingThrows is not our real name.
That's not our real name. Our true names are known only to us and the astral beings we are tied to.
Yes, and the forgotten.
You can name a town Cockfosters.
You can. There's a whole place in London called Cockfosters. There's also Cock Lane. There's also Dick Lane. There's also I swear in either Norway or the Netherlands. There's a place called Sex, right? Or Sexing.
Yeah.
And people always steal the sign. It's if we've learned anything today from us talking all things nerdy, it's that real life is a cacophony of fucking mistakes and absolute tragedies and just stupid things, right? But you know what? That's life, baby. That's life.
I think that's a good place for us to finish this episode. Would you not agree, boys?
I was literally about to say the exact words that came out your beautiful lips, Harry.
As a neutral naughty boy, I could never let it end, but I'll let it slide this one time.
As a chaotic, greasy boy, I think we gotta slide this episode on down to the river Styx. That's been us at SavingThrows. Please like, subscribe, and wave jauntily to us as we sail bravely away to our predestined doom. See you next time.